Chapter 2208. Scarface's surroundings were ablaze. The flames proved Yi Zichen and Bai Feng's suspicions. This guy really wasn't human. Yi Zichen took a deep breath. You knew about us all along? I knew about you from the moment you hid in the lava, said Scarface with a laugh. Then you used invisibility scrolls to follow me. I knew that too, so let me show you. Suddenly, the exit behind Yi Zichen and Bai Feng was sealed by the mine. Did you see that? Scarface maintained his smile. How do you think you got in here? Did you think you were lucky? In truth, I let you in on purpose. So what? Yi Zichen shrugged. I understand. You deities can use a type of teleport talisman, right? Take it out and see if you can use it here. As soon as Scarface said that, Yi Zichen frowned. He clicked the teleport talisman in his bag. He used the town return talisman normally, but after using it, he was still in the secret chamber of the elemental crystal mine. This wasn't a development Yi Zichen liked. Yi Zichen silently exited his bag and let out another long sigh. What do you want? Hand over the elemental cores. Scarface reached out. I said, hand them over and I'll give you a quick death. If that's all you want, why did you only bring us here? Is it because we can't use teleport talismans here? Yi Zichen frowned. How could that be? Scarface shrugged, then looked at the two of them. From the moment you entered the Earth's core lake, you can't go back. If you want to go back, you'll have to swim back up through the lava. Then how about this? Of course I'll take it all for myself. Scarface smiled. I'm not afraid to tell you this. I want these 4 cores. In any case, those idiots lost them. Aren't you afraid of being discovered? Yi Zichen arched his brows. Why should I be? Scarface was completely fearless. Yi Zichen didn't know where his confidence came from. Now that you mention it, I'm curious as well. How did you get down here? This isn't a place humans can enter. A place humans couldn't enter. When Yi Zichen and Bai Feng heard that, they frowned. Are you trying to say you're not human? Of course. Scarface didn't refute. Do you think I'm a human? It's because you know I'm not a human that I took the crystal core and gave you a quick death. Otherwise, I might have let you live. Yi Zichen and Bai Feng remained silent. Of course, they did not panic. Never mind Yi Zichen, Bai Feng's entire body was a mix of heavenly and primordial divine artifacts. Dealing with Scarface would be too easy. The two of them were silent, thinking about how to get out. By the way, I know you too. Scarface stretched out his hand and smiled at Bai Feng. You fought Han Qing so hard that he couldn't even fight back. White Phoenix? Suddenly, Yi Zichen shouted, then rushed towards Scarface like a gust of wind. His shout was very sudden. But they could not delay any longer. Since Scarface knew about Bai Feng's methods, but he was still so fearless, it meant that they were definitely in danger. At this time, both parties could understand each other's thoughts with just a glance. Bai Feng did not delay. She clenched her fists and punched at Scarface. Boom! At this moment, the road ahead of them was suddenly blocked by an elemental crystal mine. Bai Feng's fists landed on the boulder, but it didn't budge in the slightest. You're too unfriendly. The boulder in front of them suddenly became transparent. Scarface stood outside, his hands clasped behind his back. I didn't do anything to you. You actually want to touch me? At the same time, Yi Zichen and Bai Feng were surrounded by boulders in all directions. The only space left for them was less than 2 meters wide. Hurry up and give me the crystal core. Give it to me. That way, you won't have to suffer here. Otherwise, you'll be trapped here for the rest of your lives. That'll be torture for you too. Scarface seemed to be trying to comfort them out of good intentions. Giving it to you is actually no problem. At that moment, Bai Feng crossed her arms in silence. Her eyes brimmed with curiosity and innocence. I really want to know why you forged such a labyrinth. Scarface suddenly frowned. Don't overthink it. I'm just curious, said Bai Feng with a shrug. It should be specially used to hold prisoners, right? Otherwise, there would be no need for you to forge it. Ha! Scarface said nothing. To satisfy my curiosity, I'll give you 4 elemental crystal cores. She placed 2 elemental crystal cores in her hand. Yizichin didn't know what Bai Feng was up to. She hadn't sent him any private messages. However, there was still a bit of tacit understanding and trust between them. Yizichin took out the crystal cores. She placed all 4 of them in her hands, then clenched them tightly. What exactly are you trying to do? Scarface frowned. I'm just satisfying my curiosity. Don't you know how curious women are? Bai Feng shrugged. For the sake of elemental crystal cores, don't you have the courage to do so? Why should I trust you? I can give you 2 as a down payment. Bai Feng suddenly placed 2 crystal cores on the ground. You can control the crystal mine and push us to the back. Then you can take the crystal cores. Afterwards, you can answer my questions and I'll give you these 2. Scarface knitted his brows. He had no idea what Bai Feng was up to, but the crystal cores were already on the ground. Step back! Roared Scarface. The boulder behind Yizichin and Bai Feng retreated as well. The 2 of them retreated bit by bit until another boulder appeared and trapped them. They took the crystal cores from the ground. Scarface's eyes flashed with excitement when he saw them. They really were crystal cores. This girl hadn't played any tricks on him. Can you tell me now? Bai Feng stood in the narrow space. Scarface was in a great mood after obtaining the crystal cores. He urgently wanted to take the other 2 to avoid wasting too much time and causing unnecessary trouble. What do you want to know? Are there other people locked up here? Asked Bai Feng. No. Then why did you forge it? It's just as you said, to make a prison cell, said Scarface. There are always some disobedient fellows in the elemental lands. We forged it to imprison them. Bai Feng nodded. Give me the crystal cores. No. Suddenly, Bai Feng clenched the 2 crystal cores. You're lying. You're dishonest. Why should I give them to you? You! Scarface extended a finger. Then you can stay here for the rest of your life. Haha, in any case, I already have 2. That's enough. Who said I'd stay here for the rest of my life? Bai Feng frowned, then suddenly took out a pair of boxing gloves and put them on. You can still make it if you run now. Chapter 2209. She grabbed her gloves. She clenched her fists in front of her. Bai Feng looked like she was about to start a boxing routine. She swayed left and right, occasionally throwing out punches as a warm-up. Why aren't you running? When she saw Scarface still standing outside, Bai Feng couldn't help but frown. Seriously, do you think I'm just trying to scare you? If you don't run, you're dead for sure. Ha! Scarface's expression was filled with disdain. He was well aware of how hard crystal ores were. The crystal ores that could remain here had all been tempered thousands of times and had been carefully selected by the Lord to remain here. The crystal ore was 2 meters thick. Wanting to shatter it was simply a fool's dream. After all, that person was still trapped in the mine's dungeon. Even he couldn't escape, let alone a few domain-level deities. Pretentious. Scarface sneered inwardly and stared silently at them. He couldn't be bothered to rush them. He'd just wait for them to despair, then he'd get the crystal core. Are you there yet? That's just how life is. I'll always run into idiots who think they're infallible. Bai Feng tilted her head and shrugged, then instantly retracted her fist. She punched. Her fist slammed into the crystal ore. It didn't budge in the slightest. After that, Bai Feng punched several more times. Still, the crystal ore wasn't damaged in the slightest. When he saw this, Scarface sneered. Bai Feng's futile efforts only made him more confident. Get back. Suddenly, Yizichin received a private message. When he saw that it was from Bai Feng, he hurriedly retreated, but the space wasn't that large, so he only took a few steps back. Break it! Bai Feng, who was standing in front of the crystal mine, suddenly shouted angrily. The gloves in her hands seemed to have heard her words and shone brightly. She slammed her fist into the crystal ore. Scarface, who'd been watching the commotion from the outside, felt something was off. Then, he noticed that cracks had appeared on the outside of the crystal ore. Seeing that something was wrong, Scarface turned tail and ran. "He's going to run," he shouted at Yi Zichen. Bai Feng frowned and swung her fists with all her might. The cracks on the crystal ore grew wider and wider. Even the people inside couldn't see what was happening outside. "Break!" With another angry shout, Bai Feng's fist smashed down fiercely. Boom! The crystal mine suddenly exploded. Countless fragments of the crystal mine were scattered on the ground. "You still want to run?" Bai Feng clenched her fists and ran out. When she turned around, "What are you doing?" "Crystal ores, they definitely aren't cheap. Hurry up and put them away, we can't waste them." Yi Zichen squatted on the ground and picked up the crystal fragments bit by bit. Bai Feng let out a long sigh. "I don't care anymore." After saying this, Bai Feng chased after him. Yi Zichen unwillingly chucked a few more chunks into his backpack. "Wait a minute," Yi Zichen chased after Bai Feng. Before long, he saw her in the hallway. What happened? When Yi Zichen walked in front of her, his hand suddenly trembled. "You're too ruthless." The one lying in front of Bai Feng was Scarface. At this moment, his arms and legs were twisted like fried dough twists. His ribs were all broken. Eyes gouged out, tongue cut out. His whole body was like a boneless earthworm lying flat on the ground. By his side lay 2 crystal cores. Not a single drop of blood had come into contact with them. Although Yi Zichen didn't have a good impression of Scarface, Bai Feng's actions seemed a bit excessive. Bai Feng stared intently at Scarface. After a while, "I didn't do it." Bai Feng took a deep breath, walked up to Scarface and picked up the crystal cores. "Let's go." "Hey, you didn't do it? What do you mean?" Yi Zichen was utterly confused, but Bai Feng said nothing. She simply clenched the crystal cores tightly. Yi Zichen sensed that Bai Feng's emotions weren't quite right, but he didn't dare ask. As they walked, Bai Feng's expression was solemn. "Big Sister Feng, should we think about how to get out?" Yi Zichen asked tentatively, his heart pounding wildly. Bai Feng clenched her fist. After a while, "What did you just say?" "Let's get out." Yi Zichen grinned. "We've seen enough. Isn't it time to go?" "Wait a moment." As soon as she finished speaking, Bai Feng continued to lead the way in silence. Yi Zichen didn't dare say anything. He simply followed in silence. The two of them walked around the labyrinthine crystal mine, one round after another. After about half an hour or so, Bai Feng suddenly stopped, put the crystal cores back into her bag, and took out her boxing glove. "Break!" she punched. The crystal mine in front of them suddenly shattered. Yi Zichen's eyes widened. Previously, Bai Feng had used several punches to break it open. This time, she broke it open with a single punch. "You're really something, Big Sister Feng." Yi Zichen grinned. In the past, Bai Feng would have put her hands on her hips proudly and acted like a brute. This time, she said nothing. She simply pushed the shattered ore aside and continued forward. When he saw this, Yi Zichen couldn't help but gulp. What low pressure! He'd known Bai Feng for so long, but he'd never seen her so solemn and serious. As a result, he didn't dare pick up too many of the crystals on the ground. He simply took a few, then hurried after them. Beyond the labyrinth, there was still another labyrinth. Bai Feng stopped every now and then. She smashed the walls of the mine, then continued forward. After an indeterminate amount of time, White Phoenix, who was walking in front, stopped again. "Are we there?" She seemed to be muttering to herself. Yi Zichen tilted his head and walked up to her. "What is it?" "We're at the location of the elemental spirits you mentioned," said Bai Feng with a frown. "Elemental spirits?" Yi Zichen's eyes widened and he looked around. "Where?" "It should be around here." "How did you know?" Yi Zichen was curious. Did you walk like that just now to find elemental spirits? Didn't you say the fire element here was thin and there didn't seem to be any elemental spirits here? I guessed wrong, said Bai Feng. Her gloomy tone made Yi Zichen feel very uncomfortable. Big Sister Feng, what's going on? I don't think I offended you. If it's about that scar-faced guy, I apologize. I didn't know you didn't kill him. It has nothing to do with you. Bai Feng pursed her lips, then suddenly smiled. Ha ha, I was just pretending just now. Did you get scared, silly? Come on, Big Sister will take you to catch elemental spirit. As soon as she finished speaking, Bai Feng walked to the front. Yi Zichen stood in place and looked into Bai Feng's eyes. Even as she turned around, her expression was still grave. She wasn't pretending. Her smile was. Since she didn't want to talk about it, there was no need for Yi Zichen to keep asking. He grinned. Alright, Big Sister, wait for me. Chapter 22:10. What exactly are elemental spirits like? Yi Zichen was extremely curious about the elemental spirits in the crystal mine prison. What he was even more curious about was, why was he here? We're here. Bai Feng, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped. The end of the crystal mine prison was right in front of her. Should I break it? Yi Zichen thought back to their journey. White Phoenix nodded and put on her gloves again. She stared straight ahead and placed her palms on the crystal, or as she exhaled deeply. Wait a moment, Bailey, who was standing on Yi Zichen's shoulder, suddenly spoke up. Bai Feng, who was about to attack, also stopped. What is it, Bailey? Yi Zichen frowned. There seems to be someone else in here. Bailey frowned as he looked at the crystal mine wall, as if he could pierce through it. Didn't you say you couldn't investigate this place? Not long ago, when Yi Zichen asked Bailey to investigate, he said he couldn't, but now he said there was someone inside. It was even better if there was someone inside. It also proved that there was a secret room behind this place. We know there's someone inside. A lot. Bailey frowned. A lot, at least. Oh no, retreat. Just as Bailey exclaimed, the crystal mine wall in front of them suddenly exploded. Shattered crystals fell all over the ground. Bai Feng and Yi Zichen subconsciously covered their faces with their arms and squinted their eyes. Oh, you really came, kid? A mocking laugh sounded out. Yi Zichen looked over with a frown. It's you. An elder covered in flames stood within the secret room. The elemental commander. He held a blade in his hands, which was stabbed into the crystal mine. He sat on a pink crystal chair with a flaming cape on his back. 12 flaming generals stood on either side of his hands. All of them stared coldly at Yi Zichen and Bai Feng. Emperor's Star. Lil, Fire, also came out from Yi Zichen's arm and looked at the elemental commander solemnly. The elemental commander's body was covered in terrifying flames. He was several times stronger than when he was in the Blue River's core region. That little guy broke through as well. The elemental commander smiled warmly, then looked at Lil, Fire with a greedy gaze. Everything is progressing in a good direction. He still wanted to devour Xiaohua and occupy his body. Now, he treated Xiaohua as if he was already a meal on a plate. He's that elemental commander? White Phoenix frowned. Did you find a helper? The elemental commander looked at White Phoenix and nodded. I can sense a very pure fire element in your body. If it weren't for the elemental spirit here, I would have occupied your body. I'm not in a good mood. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. He put on the boxing gloves and gently twisted his neck. Hey, you humans always like to be so arrogant and conceited. The reason I failed before was because I only sent a wisp of my will. This is my main body. There are some fire elements for me to use, you guys. Before the elemental commander finished, Yi Zichen suddenly felt a gust of wind blow past his ears. Then, with a loud boom, the crystal mine under his feet cracked and turned into dust. Die. He punched out fiercely. The surging fist wind shattered the elemental commander's chair and the elemental crystal mine behind it. His 12 generals didn't even have time to react. The elemental commander's body started to shatter, while a heart-like gem appeared in White Phoenix's hand. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a rush. When the crystal shattered, the elemental commander roared unwillingly as it turned into a fire elemental and returned to this elemental land. At that moment, only then did the generals return to their senses. If you don't want to die, then stand still obediently. If you want to die, then I can grant your wish. White Phoenix stepped on the chair with her left foot. The generals all gulped, then stood in place, not daring to step forward. Yizichin was the same. He was speechless at the domineering White Phoenix. Who would have thought to think that a Chunibu girl who was a little neurotic every day would have such a cold side to her? All right, you didn't move. I accept your obedience. Then, tell me, where is your elemental spirit? The generals were as silent as cicadas in winter. The moment Bai Feng finished speaking, someone pointed to the front. Open it. Hearing that, the general ran up and placed his hand on the crystal ore. The gate of the crystal mine slowly moved open, and in front of everyone was a woman with her hands cuffed and hanging on a crystal mine frame. Elemental spirit. When Yizichin saw her, he couldn't help but feel that she was an elemental spirit. He didn't expect the elemental spirit to already be an adult. She was 2 levels higher than Lil Fire. It's you, the cuffed woman looked up and revealed a faint smile, but also a hint of fear. From her gaze, it was clear that they had met before. This is the first time we've met. The guy you saw before wasn't me. White Phoenix frowned, then walked up. Bai Feng frowned and walked up to him. I'll help you break the handcuffs first. It might hurt you, so you'd better bear with it. With that, White Phoenix clenched her fist and stepped forward. She punched. The cuffs and pillar shattered. The woman frowned and fell to the ground. Elemental spirit. Yes. I don't have too much time to chat with you. You can tell him if there's anything. White Phoenix pointed at Yizichin. Bai Feng pointed at Yizichin. The elemental fairy subconsciously looked over, but when she noticed Lil Fire, who was standing beside Yizichin, she couldn't help but be stunned. Then she smiled wryly, as if accepting her fate, and revealed an expression of relief. I came here to take her away. White Phoenix reached out her hand. You. The woman hesitated. Are you really of the Phoenix race? I am, White Phoenix nodded. Good. The woman smiled, then placed her hand on her stomach. Streams of water rippled on her stomach, and soon after, she took out an egg wrapped in lava. Please take good care of her. She's still very young. I know. Bai Feng reached out and caught the magma egg. She looked down at the egg in her hand and revealed a gentle smile. You protected her very well. Yes, she's my child. For her, I'm willing to give up everything. In order to take care of her, you used up too much elemental energy, causing the previous elemental spirit to be trapped here by her own subordinates? White Phoenix sighed. Give her a name. That way, she won't forget you. And the woman seemed to have considered this a long time ago. She blurted it out without hesitation. Among humans, there's a word for peace. I hope that she can be safe in the future. Chapter 22:11. Safe and sound. It seemed like a simple sentence, but it contained far too much of the elemental fairy's love for her daughter. Yizichin stood silently to the side and watched this somewhat painful scene. Bai Feng smiled and nodded, then reached out to touch the lava egg. From now on, I'll call you Lil and... The elemental fairy smiled, her eyes brimming with motherly love. She reached out, and Bai Feng squatted down to let her touch it. Then she looked away, no longer looking at the lava egg. Instead, she faced Yizichin and Xiaohu. You can absorb me now. It was as if she'd already seen through her fate. She sat calmly on the ground, showing no intention of resisting. Actually, she'd grown tired of it long ago. The only reason she'd persevered until now was because of the unborn little phoenix. She couldn't stop worrying, which was why she'd persisted. Now that the little phoenix had found a home, she could leave this dull world in peace. From the very beginning, Yi Zichen and Xiao Hua had indeed come to absorb the elemental fairy. If they could absorb it, then Xiao Hua's strength would definitely multiply, and Yi Zichen's elemental nourishment would also increase his strength. But the problem was, Yi Zichen was born in a place that valued relationship. He couldn't bear to face this sort of motherly love. This was a thought that had already taken root in his heart. No matter how long he lived, he couldn't forget his roots and become a cold and detached person. Don't think too much. Even if you don't absorb her, she'll dissipate soon enough, said Bai Feng. How? Exclaimed Xiao Hua. Elemental fairies were born of nature. Even if the universe was destroyed, they wouldn't die. As long as how do you think this little fellow survived? She's been using her own origin power to nourish herself this entire time. Bai Feng looked down at the little fellow in her arms. As an elemental fairy, you should know what the origin of the elements represents. What's more, the elemental commander outside has been absorbing her origin power. She's already running out of it. When he heard this, Xiao Hua was stunned. He looked at the elemental fairy in disbelief. The origin power of an elemental fairy was something she possessed when she was born. It was also because of the existence of the origin energy that the elemental spirits could stand above all the other elements and command the elements below them with a supreme posture. Once the origin energy was used up, it could not be recovered. No matter what method was used, it could not be replenished. When the origin energy was exhausted, the elemental spirits would return to the long river of elements, just like the other elements, and disappear. Little Fire found it hard to understand. Why did she have to use her origin energy to feed it? Elemental spirit, I can feel your emotions. The woman sitting on the ground looked at Xiao Hua. Don't mourn for me. This is what I want. Why did you and I were born by the heavens and earth. We shouldn't have emotions. The woman looked at Xiaoan with a smile. But the birth of life is always accompanied by the reproduction of emotions, even for you and me. I believe you can understand this, can't you? Lil Fire subconsciously glanced at Yi Zichen, then silently shook his head. The elemental spirit saw everything and smiled. I understand. No one knew what she understood. This might be a conversation that only she and Xiao Hua, two elemental spirits, could understand each other. My death is voluntary. Even if my commander didn't betray me, I have no expectations for this world. I hope you can treat Xiaoan well and raise her well. In the future, she might be very mischievous, she might be naughty, she might be very noisy, or she might be very domineering. But she will definitely be a cute and kind child. I believe that she will be like that. Suddenly, a ball of fire ignited on the elemental spirit's fingertip. This ball of fire was very pure, far purer than any other fire element. Just treat it as my gift to you. I only hope that you can take good care of her in my place. Bang! The elemental spirit sitting on the ground suddenly disappeared, leaving behind a wisp of fire that drilled into Xiao Hua's body. All of a sudden, Xiao Hua seemed to stand taller than before. However, his eyes revealed an indescribable heaviness. Crack! At that moment, a crack suddenly appeared on the magma egg in Bai Feng's hands. A featherless chick about the size of a human palm crawled out of the eggshell. She struggled to get out as if she had sensed something. After crawling out of the eggshell, she looked around blankly. As if she couldn't find the person she was looking for, she began to flap her wings. Come! Bai Feng called out to Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua walked over. The instant she saw Xiao Hua, the little chick's expression lit up. She flapped her wings in an attempt to fly up to Xiao Hua. Unfortunately, she was just too small. Before she could take more than a few steps, she sat back down in Bai Feng's hands. She stared at the eggshell with her red eyes and began to chomp down on it. You have her mother's scent on you. She really likes you. Bai Feng tilted her head and watched as the little chick finished the eggshell, bit by bit. Once she finished, she flapped her wings in satisfaction and leaped up. After eating the eggshell, she really did grow quite a bit. She instantly jumped onto Xiaohua's head, and began to chew on the flames on top of his head. Xiaohua, said Yizichen. The little chick wasn't playing around. She really was eating Xiaohua's fire element. Let her eat. Xiaohua smiled, but his eyes were filled with helplessness. Then, he looked at Baifeng and said, "Can I raise this little fellow in the future?" "You?" Baifeng frowned. "Sure. Since I won't be returning to my clan for the time being, I'll leave her in the land of elements. If you want to raise her, then you can. I won't refuse if someone wants to raise her. Leave her in the land of elements." Yizichen raised his eyebrows. "There's no place more suitable for elemental phoenixes to live in than the land of elements," said Baifeng. "There's plenty of fire element here. It's a paradise for her. I didn't know there was an elemental phoenix here, so I'll leave the crystal core here." "I'll stay as well," Yizichen nodded. "That's what you should be doing." Baifeng twitched her mouth. "She already belongs to you. I'm staying as a friend, but you staying is a must. Since you've obtained custody of this little fellow, then you have to take care of her. I'll make a list for you. Go back and prepare." Chapter 22:12. Before Yizichen could speak, he received a private message. He clicked it open. Yizichen was dazzled. Although he didn't know what these materials represented, he did know that they were money waving goodbye to him. "Bailey, calculate how much these will cost." "One moment." Bailey read through the content, then said, "Approximately 1.3 million universe credits per day. Some of the resources are rather rare, so it will be very troublesome to buy them without special channels. If you increase the price, then it will cost around 1.9 million per day." Boom! Thunder rumbled. Yizichen's head buzzed, and he nearly had a headache. 1.9 million. Universe credits. Every day? Even this little thing is more expensive than elemental fairies. What is this for? Don't look like that. You asked to raise her yourself. I didn't force you to do this, said White Phoenix. Yizichen looked towards Lil Fire. Lil Fire was looking at Little Chick kindly like a kind father. F***CK. It's fine if I want to adopt a daughter. But doesn't that mean I have to pay for it in the end? Lil Fire is still underage. I can't just make him work, right? What a good son. The woman he picked up is also a prodigal toy. She costs nearly 2 million per day. You're not going to help? Yizichen raised his eyebrows. I really don't have that thought, White Phoenix shrugged. Baifeng shrugged. I think a money grubber like you should be quite rich. Also, don't try to cut corners. This is already the lowest you can go. If you go any lower, it will have a huge impact on her future growth. F***CK. Yizichen wanted to cry. Why am I a money grubber? It's because I don't have money that I treasure every single star coin. I'm already poor enough. Now I have this ancestor as well. Don't be dejected. If the elemental phoenix is properly raised, then becoming a sovereign shouldn't be a problem. White Phoenix patted Yizichen's shoulder. White Phoenix patted Yizichen's shoulder. Think about it. A sovereign isn't something that can be bought with money. Are you sure? Yizichen suddenly looked up. Of course, White Phoenix nodded. The prerequisite is that you have to raise her properly. How is that considered raising her properly? Should I send it to you? Send. Yizichen hadn't looked up since leaving the Crystal Mines dungeon. What elite training program? Nonsense. Little guy, I believe in you. You can become a venerable even without elite nurturing. Yizichen caressed the featherless chick. He was truly shocked by the resources that White Phoenix threw out. Not to mention anything else. In any case, Yizichen was certain that non-peak level clans couldn't afford the White Phoenix's training methods. Bar's family might not even be able to afford it. Would you believe that he could eat an entire galaxy a day? The 4 crystal cores were placed back on the crystal mine, and a steady stream of fire element was catalyzed by the primordial elements. From now on, you will be her bodyguards, Bai Feng frowned at the elemental general in front of her. We will come here often. If anything happens to this little guy, the few of you can just wait to die. Yes, yes, yes. The generals all bowed their heads in agreement. Little un, just be a good boy and stay here. Don't run around, okay? We'll come back to see you in the future, Bai Feng said as she squatted down on the ground. The chick nodded, then stumbled over to Lil Fire's side and grabbed his pants. I'll come back too. Hearing that, the chick suddenly looked down. She seemed to understand that the person she liked was going to leave her as well. You guys. At that moment, Yi Zichen pointed at the generals. My lord, please speak. The crystal mine dungeon is useless now. Send people to tear it down and mine the crystals. Yi Zichen put his hands on his hips. Make sure they're all the same. I'll come back to get them next time. After he left, he had to start buying resources for Littleun. If he didn't earn some in the elemental lands, he felt like he wouldn't be able to handle it with just the equipment store. No. It wasn't just a little, he definitely wouldn't be able to handle it. Elemental spirits had to be provided for, and the chick's daily consumption wasn't low either. The feeling of being a senior, so difficult. Yes. We'll send people to mine right away, the general nodded. Don't slack off. My eyes are watching you all at all times. Yi Zichen pointed at his own eyes, then at the elemental generals. The elemental generals nodded fearfully. Yi Zichen, Bai Feng and company also left the elemental lands. Little Chick silently watched them leave. Until they disappeared, the worry and reluctance on her face suddenly vanished like smoke in thin air. Then, she stumbled in front of the elemental generals. She yelled out orders for a long time. Yet the elemental generals actually understood her words. They hurriedly placed her on their shoulders, and two of them fanned her from the side. Only then did the chick reveal a satisfied smile. We're finally out. Yi Zichen stood outside the elemental lands and stretched lazily as he looked at the familiar sky. It seems like there's no problem with the little fellow's food now? Bai Feng raised her eyebrows. Would you die if you didn't mention that? Yi Zichen felt a headache when he thought about the chick's food. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you as well. Speak. Do you think the mined elemental crystal ores should be sold in our universe or in this universe? I suggest we sell them in our universe first. Bai Feng thought about it for a while. Let's settle Lil An's needs first, then think about trading with the second universe. Oh yeah, since you brought it up, I'll tell you that the resources I mentioned don't have to be bought in the first universe. You can also buy them here if you can. I understand. I have other things to take care of. If I don't contact you, then don't contact me either. Bai Feng let out a deep sigh. All right. Yi Zichen had already felt that something was off about Bai Feng back in the elemental land. Also, their conversation when he saw the elemental spirits was quite interesting. If you see me on the way, don't greet me either, got it? Bai Feng reminded him. Do I have to go that far? Yi Zichen frowned. It's good to be careful, Bai Feng smiled. I have to go do my own things, so I won't disturb you from helping the little fellow with her food. Hurry up, don't let her get hungry. I don't need you to remind me. Yi Zichen watched Bai Feng leave, then opened up his friends list. Still Kek. Instance Dungeon Start. Chapter 2213. Ding dash, respected Universe Gold Card User 1. 7 million Universe dollars have been deposited into your account, please take note. Yi Zichen sat on the floor as he looked at the email in the virtual network. His eyes were filled with exhaustion. At the bottom of this email were all deductions. Right now, he only had so little savings. Ding dash, respected Universe Gold Card User 1. 7 million Universe dollars have been transferred from your account. When Yi Zichen saw another email from the Virtual World Corporation, he suddenly laughed. Then, as he laughed, he felt like crying. The money was not his to use. It was Bailey who used it for shopping in the virtual network. Great deity, are you in need of money? Actually, we can lend you some, Meng Luo squatted on the ground and tilted her head as she looked at Yi Zichen, who wanted to cry. Hey, I'm not lending it to you. Hua Jianrou said. I can borrow it, Bai Sei said softly. Wah, little white, you traitor. Forget about Meng Luo, you're the same. Hua Jianrou shouted loudly. Today, it was her turn to lead them into the instance dungeon. The few of them had just come out of the instance dungeon. That one. 7 million was the reward. Unfortunately, Bai Sei pursed his lips in silence. Hua Jianrou glanced at Yi Zichen, who was squatting on the ground. I say it's not that bad. Are you really that short of money? Okay, if you really need money, I can lend you some. Is 50 million enough? Hearing that, Yi Zichen looked up and smiled. He looked at Hua Jianrou's extended hand and patted it lightly. I appreciate your kindness, but I can still hold on for now. Speaking of which, you're really strange. Hua Jianrou also squatted on the ground and shrugged. Ever since the Virtual World Corporation revealed the truth, very few people have taken the initiative to fight monsters. Even if we go, we'll be fully prepared. But you're really not afraid of death at all, and you're even leading a group of people to fight a dungeon like crazy. Do you think I want to? Yi Zichen shrugged. Why are you so short of money? Hua Jianrou frowned. I'm not purposely checking on you, but your equipment shop makes about 5 million in profit every day. You also make 2 million when you bring people to instance dungeons. How is that not enough? What are you doing? Are you raising elemental spirits? When Bai Sei heard that, his expression froze. He snuck a peek at Yi Zichen's expression, only to discover that he was smiling wryly. It would be great if it was an elemental spirit. Compared to raising chicks, Yi Zichen wanted to raise elemental fairies more. The last time he looked at the little chick, it had grown quite a bit. About the size of a hen. There were still no feathers on it, and it was still bald. Sister Ro, our people are in conflict with the natives, the flame rat suddenly shouted. F***ck. Natives again. Hua Jianrou slapped her thigh and stood up angrily. What's the reason this time? Our people were fighting the monsters normally, but the natives attacked us maliciously. They injured our people and stole our materials, the flame rat said. These natives are going overboard. Hua Jianrou frowned. What else can we do? Let everyone come back. Bai Sei sighed. The difference in power between us and the natives here is too great. Their levels are already higher than ours. Right now, they're also cultivating and fighting monsters. We won't be able to catch up to them in a short period of time. I really don't know what they're so arrogant about. Hua Jianrou shouted angrily. If you're so capable, go to our place. I'll beat him to death. All right, Bai Sei comforted Hua Jianrou. Do you need fighters? Yi Zichen, who was squatting on the ground, suddenly smiled. You guys know, right? Han Qing is of the star level. Now that she's working under me, taking care of the natives is a piece of cake. All of a sudden, Hua Jianrou's eyes lit up. Yeah. Brat, you're a lord now. I nearly forgot. Hua Jianrou patted Yi Zichen's shoulder and laughed. Why didn't you say so earlier? I'll use it. Say it, how much is it? Why are we talking about money between us? Yi Zichen chuckled. But if I don't want it, then you'll feel bad. I won't ask for much. 5 million. Tisk, 1 million. Do it or not? Deal. Yi Zichen did not hesitate at all. Hua Jianrou felt like she was losing out on such a direct reply. However, when she thought about how she was bullied by the natives, she didn't fuss about it. Yi Zichen sent a message to Han Qing from his friend list. Han Qing was a real native, so he could add Yi Zichen as a friend. For natives, adding a friend meant adding a friend through the universe communicator. They didn't find it strange. Along the way, Hua Jianrou walked with her head held high with a star-level powerhouse present. When she thought about how the natives were going to be taught a lesson, she was so happy that she wanted to set off firecrackers. Yi Zichen and Han Qing followed behind. Did you find the resources I told you to keep an eye out for? No, Han Qing shook her head. I've already asked around many people, but none of the resources you mentioned were found. This subordinate is thinking that the names you provided might be wrong. It's not impossible. It was normal for the names of the resources in the first and second universe to change. Yi Zichen agreed with Han Qing's thoughts, then said, "Continue to keep an eye out. I'll get White Phoenix to send me a map when I get back. Then you can search according to the map." Alright. How's the mining going? It's still in preparation. The tools at the smithy aren't done yet. We can only guard the surroundings of the crystal mine and try our best not to be discovered by others. Alright, thank you for your hard work. Yi Zichen nodded and walked to the front after getting a rough understanding of the situation. How much longer? What? You charge by the hour? Hua Jianrou frowned. Hey, that's a great idea, Yi Zichen suddenly clapped. Yi Zichen suddenly clapped his hands. Oh yeah, let me ask you, how many times do natives bully us players? Many, very many, the flame rat said. Those guys seem to hate us. Meng Luo also nodded. Many players were kicked by the natives when they were cultivating in the beginner's village. Is that so? Yi Zichen rubbed his chin and couldn't help but laugh. They must be really angry, right? Of course, Meng Luo shrugged. But what can they do even if they're angry? They can't beat them, and what if they really hate us and kill us? Most of the time, players just endure it. The smile in Yi Zichen's eyes became even brighter. Hua Jianrou, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped. Do you want to work together? What do you mean? Yi Zichen frowned. I know what you're planning, Hua Jianrou indicated towards Han Qing. I have a lot of people who want to take revenge, and they don't lack money. I'll provide the resources for 28%, what do you think? Chapter 22:14. According to what Hua Jianrou said, calculating it in terms of 1,800,000 from a single deal was rather impressive. With the addition of the chicks, Yi Zichen's need for funds was extremely urgent. Coincidentally, there was a need for that among the players. I can consider it. Yi Zichen nodded towards Hua Jianrou with a smile. Yi Zichen already had such thoughts, the only thing he lacked was customers. If Hua Jianrou could provide enough customers, it wasn't impossible to work together. I'll wait for your news. Hua Jianrou nodded with a smile, then looked forward. Natives, just you wait. It had already become normal for the natives to bully the humans of the first universe. It was unknown when it started. It might have been when the Milky Way system was renamed to the Milky Way system. A portion of the natives no longer continued to move about in the village. They chose to leave the village. They went to kill the ferocious beasts outside and plunder whatever resources they could. They started to cultivate, then left the village in groups like adventurers. Heads of the natives started to appear in the village. They formed new factions. They no longer guided the players. The players, who were once hailed as the people of the gods, became the people that the natives hated the most. It was as if they had been subservient for too long. They wanted to take out all the respect that they had given up on. Bullying. The difference in strength allowed them to bully the players as they pleased. Even if the other natives in the village saw it, it was already good enough that they could just watch. It was practically impossible to get their help. Why did it suddenly become like this? Yi Zichen muttered in his heart. He was rather confused as to why the natives would have such a huge change. Rojia, we're here. The flame rat ran forward and looked around. The coordinates they sent me were here. Strange, why aren't they here? Huh? You guys didn't contact them during this period of time? Hua Jianrou knocked the flame rat's head. Are you stupid? Don't they know how to run after being bullied? The flame rat covered its head and quickly went to contact the nebula members. It's in front. Not long later, the flame rat reached out its hand and ran out. Hua Jianrou and company followed closely behind, while Yi Zichen walked at the back. Don't do anything later, just scare those people. This subordinate understands, Han Qing nodded. In front of the forest, a man with a hooked nose held a long sword in his hand. Behind him were more than 10 ferocious-looking fellows who did not look like good people. The hook-nosed man was a native of Yizichen's village. Hongji, 6th layer domain. With his strength, he was considered outstanding even among the natives of the village. He had more than 10 brothers under him. They specialized in the business of robbing humans from the first universe. He didn't have much malice towards the players. He just felt that this was a fast way to make money. If they were obedient, they would only rob the goods and money. Disobedient, they did not mind letting these ignorant people bleed a little. Blood was still dripping from the blades of these people, and there were many bloodstains on the ground. It could be seen that they had encountered some insensible fellows. He looked in the direction opposite them. With a closer look, one could tell that they were human members of Universe 1. There were about 40 of them, and many of them were injured. Their arms were wrapped in bandages as they sat on the ground. Right in the middle of these two groups of people, a golden-haired girl wearing a floral dress and heavy armor stood there. "Young lady of the Qing family, are you determined to get involved in this mess?" Hongji frowned. He rested his long blade on his shoulder, which shone with a piercing light under the sunlight. The 10-odd brothers behind him also walked up and looked at the girl with unfriendly gazes. "I don't want to become enemies with your old man. Don't cause trouble for yourself." "I won't let you guys continue," the golden-haired girl shook her head. "The deities didn't do anything wrong. Why do you guys have to cause trouble for them? Is this what your old man wants? The Qing family wants to be the dogs of the deities?" Hongji frowned. "Be more respectful," the golden-haired girl shouted angrily. "Heh! Since you don't want to be a dog, then why are you so concerned? You still want to be one," Hongji shrugged. "Fine, since you want to be a dog, then pay for your master. I don't want much, just 100,000 per person. There are 40 people here, so that's 4 million. As long as you give it to me, then I'll let them go." "You?" The golden-haired girl frowned. "What, the Qing family can't even take out 4 million? Hongji smiled in disdain. "Fine, I'll give it to you." The golden-haired girl gritted her teeth and took out 4 million star coins. "This is the 4 million you asked for." Hongji took the money with a smile and weighed it in his hand. After confirming that it was indeed 4 million star coins, he nodded in satisfaction. The Qing family is indeed rich. They took out 4 million just like that without batting an eyelid. "What do you want to do? Are you going back on your word?" The girl frowned. "Of course not. I'm a man of my word. They can go now." The golden-haired girl ran to the side of the Star Cloud members. "Hurry up and go." "Miss, thank you so much." The Star Cloud members nodded vigorously, their eyes filled with gratitude. Just as they walked away, Hongji's subordinates suddenly caught them all again. "What are you doing?" the golden-haired girl shouted. "Didn't you already agree to let them go? What's wrong? Robbery?" Hongji shrugged. "I did let them go, but they were too slow, so we caught them again. Miss Qingyu, I didn't say that I wouldn't rob them a second time. You can't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame them for not appreciating the opportunity you gave them." This almost shameless answer made the golden-haired girl clench her fists tightly. She bit her lip and stared at Hongji. "Io, the Qing family's lady is angry. What, are you going to ask your father to make trouble for me? Go back and ask your father if he dares." Hongji spat in disdain. Suddenly, a ball of fire appeared in his hand. The flame burned fiercely in his hand, causing the surrounding temperature to rise significantly. Soon, he blew out the flame. Seeing the fire in his hand, Qingyu couldn't help but be shocked. "How can you use fire elemental energy?" "I can't say that." Hongji narrowed his eyes. "Miss Qingyu, don't make trouble for yourself. Hurry up and go back. Of course, if you still want to redeem them, it's not that I can't accept it. This time, 200,000 per person, that's 8 million. How about it? You guys, aren't you kind? Then just give it to me." Hongji laughed shamelessly. I won't force you. If you don't give it to me, then leave. Of course, if no one pays for them, I'll kill one of them every minute. Hooking his finger, Hongji's subordinate suddenly grabbed the head of a Star Cloud member and placed a knife on his neck. Countdown begin. Chapter 22:15. Don't go too far. Qingyu glared at the people under the butcher's knife. What exactly do you want? Didn't I make myself clear before? Honger held his knife, his eyes filled with mockery. If you want them to live, then pay the ransom. Qingyu stood there, her eyes filled with struggle. Maybe she was thinking, why did she have to pay the ransom? She was not related to these outsiders in any way. The Qing family did have some money. But the family didn't have money for no reason. 4 million star dollars. To someone who didn't have the power of the family, this was a huge burden. Yet, Hiroji was asking for 8 million even more. Miss Qingyu, I advise you to stay out of this. Why do you have to do this for them? Honger said mockingly with his knife. Then, will you kill them? Qingyu asked hesitantly. Of course. Honger didn't hesitate at all. To him, killing these people didn't require him to feel any guilt. They're humans too, Qingyu said. That's in your eyes. In my eyes, they're just a bunch of animals. The Star Cloud members trembled when they heard this. Animals? Cattle waiting to be slaughtered? One had to know that in reality they were all stars, galaxies, and even universe-level beings. Even though in reality, they couldn't control the life and death of countless people. But they weren't cattle waiting to be slaughtered either. Why? Coming to this world, they were called animals by a bunch of domain-level aboriginals. I'll fight it out with you. Someone couldn't take it anymore. He took out his weapon and was about to rush out. Honger smiled coldly. A ball of flame burned in his hand as he hit the man's chest. Animals should have the awareness of being animals. You're just a level 2 domain-level trash, and you still want to be human? Waving his hand, Honger's subordinate raised his knife and was about to chop down. I'll pay. The blonde girl Qingyu shouted loudly. The knife stopped. The man kneeling on the ground was filled with fear. Just at that moment, he felt like he was really going to die. Honger waved his hand at his subordinate and immediately picked his ear. Pay up then. I don't have that much on hand right now. I only have 3 million here. I'll give all of it to you. As for the rest, I'll get it for you when I get home. Is that okay? Qingyu held the star coins in her hands and had a pleading look in her eyes. 3 million? Holding the money in his hand, Hiroji narrowed his eyes. Why don't you take it as you've saved 15 people? You can pick 15 people from these people, and I'll guarantee their safety. As for the others, you can go back and get them first. But the round trip will take at least 2 hours, Qingyu said. Then there's nothing we can do. They'll just have to die. Hiroji's eyes were filled with disdain. Qingyu's eyes were filled with despair when she heard his words. The members of Star Cloud were silent. When they saw how these indigenous beings dared to kill them for real, they seemed to have lost all of their courage to resist. Whoosh! A few coins suddenly flew over from the forest. Hongji reflexively took half a step back and reached out to grab the coin. Galaxy dollars. The face value was 1,000 yuan. This coin alone represented 10 million star coins. Is it enough? Not long after, Hua Jianro walked to the front and looked at Hongji coldly. Seeing that they were outsiders, Hongji smiled as he accepted the coin. I knew it. You gods are always so rich. Hongji shrugged at Qingyu as soon as he finished speaking. Ms. Qingyu, you don't have to feel bad. They've already sent someone to ransom you. Even though this is 10 million, I'm sorry, but I won't return the money you gave me before. Go and ask for the reward from your god's representative. At this moment, Bai Sei and Meng Luo had already walked over to Qingyu. Sister, you're such a good person, Meng Luo said with a smile. Don't worry, we'll return the money you spent. Here. As she spoke, Meng Luo took out 20,000 galaxy dollars. This is too much. Qingyu shook her head forcefully. I didn't use that much. I only gave him 7 million. If you want to return it to me, you can give me 7 million. It's okay. Sister Rose said that a drop of water should be returned with a spring. Meng Luo smiled. Take this as our return gift. Meng Luo smiled as she placed the coin in Qingyu's hand. All of this was witnessed by Honger. His eyes were burning with passion. Tens of thousands of galaxy dollars. The people who came back were much richer than the other outsiders. If he could rob them once, he would not have to do such things for at least half a month, no, a month. The people who came were all at level 2 of the domain realm. They did not pose any threat. With a glance, his subordinates surrounded Hua Jianrou and the others. Hongji! Qingyu shouted. Whoa, you dare to call my name when you see your master? Hongji tilted his head. Is this what they mean by a dog relying on its master's power? Watch your mouth. Hua Jianrou narrowed her eyes and looked at Hongji's subordinate. What do you mean? Didn't I give you the ransom? Are you going to rob us again? It's good to deal with smart people. Hongji nodded. That's right. I'm going to rob you a third time. Hiroji, don't be too greedy. Qingyu glared at him. You will suffer retribution for doing this. If Her Majesty knows that you are bullying the deities like this, she will not let you off. Let her come. Hongji shrugged nonchalantly. I heard that God has 2 beauties. I really want to see him and feast my eyes. Pa, she slapped him across the face from a distance. Hongji, who had just been slapped, widened his eyes. Who is it? If you dare to spout nonsense again, you will lose your life. Do you believe me? Yi Zichen slowly walked out of the forest. He was talking to Han Qing about some things, so he was slower than Hua Jianrou and company, and just happened to hear what Honger said. Who are the women on the altar? Bai Feng. Wen Li. Bai Feng was his good friend. Wen Li was Xia Ya's teacher. Fortunately, White Phoenix was not around this time. If she were here, Honger would have died many times over. It was you who hit me. What can I do about it? What do you want? Yi Zichen frowned and stared at Honger. You're seeking death. Suddenly, flames appeared in Honger's hands. Yi Zichen's pupils contracted when he saw that. Why do you know how to use fire? Die! Honger chucked the flames in his hands. Yi Zichen raised his arm to block them. Who taught you? Do you have something to do with that place as well? Die! Honger raged, then released flames once again. Boom! All of a sudden, Honger's surroundings were surrounded by flames. Do you think you're the only one who knows how to use fire? Chapter 22:16. The flames burned. Countless flames converged into a wall, surrounding Honger and his subordinates. Under this kind of fire, the fire in Honger's hands seemed insignificant. If Honger's fire was a cluster, then Yi Zichen's fire was a sea of fire. The scorching heat wave caused the surrounding jungle to gradually emit black smoke before it was ignited. Qingyu stared blankly at Yi Zichen, who stood in front of the flames. Fire. What a huge fire. Didn't the clan elders say that one had to be at least at the universe level to use the elemental energy of heaven and earth? Why could Honger, who was at the domain level, do it? So could this deity in front of me. The steaming waves of heat surrounded Hero's body. Yi Zichen looked at the flames around him. Honger reached out his hand, while Yi Zichen stood silently outside. Do you think you're the only one who knows how to use fire? Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with darkness. Scarface wasn't human, so Yi Zichen didn't care too much about living among humans. But now more natives unleashed their flames. Yi Zichen, who possessed an elemental spirit, could clearly sense that he was controlling the fire element. When he released the flames, the surrounding fire element gathered towards his palm. Elements were high-grade cosmic power. In order to make the elements obey humans, one had to be at least at the universe level. Honger had only just reached the level 6 domain level. How could he do this? First there was Scarface, then there was Honger. Yi Zichen was already starting to suspect that these non-humans were definitely plotting something. In this village, there were people who could control the fire element. There might be more. Speak, why can you control the fire element? You're not human either? When Yi Zichen said this, everyone froze in astonishment. Great deity, you just said he's not human. What do you mean? The flame rat gulped and frowned at Honger, who was surrounded by flames. He's not human, could he be? Yi Zichen didn't answer. He merely stared intently at Honger. If you tell me the truth, I might let you go. Don't get carried away. Suddenly, Hongji, who was surrounded by flames, laughed out loud. So what if you can use the fire element? You're just a trash at the second level of the domain realm. Do you think you can trap me with this little bit of fire? Just then, Hiroji rushed out of the flames. He was bathed in flames, and his whole person was as fast as lightning. The surrounding people were unable to see his movements clearly. He raised his sword high up and chopped down towards Yi Zichen's head. Go to hell, damn intruder! The power of a sixth-layer domain was unleashed without any reservation. Qingyu stared at Yi Zichen from a distance. At that moment, an elder appeared in front of Yi Zichen. Hongji's katana was easily blocked. When he saw the old man's face clearly, fear instantly appeared in Hiroji's eyes. However, before he could do anything else, bang, with a backhand elbow strike, the old man threw Hongji to the ground. Senior Han Qing. Qingyu looked at the elder in front of Yi Zichen blankly. Han Qing. He was one of the top experts in the surrounding villages. Why would he suddenly appear here? There was a rumor in the village earlier. Senior Han Qing lost to a deity, and became the deity's aide. Many people had witnessed it with their own eyes, but when the news spread, many people did not believe it. And now, Han Qing appeared here. Could it be that this young man was the god who defeated Han Qing? After all, Han Qing was in the star level. Hong Er was only at the sixth-layer domain. The difference in strength between them was like heaven and earth. A single elbow strike was enough to make him lose the ability to move. After doing all that, Han Qing stood silently behind Yi Zichen. At the same time, Yi Zichen also squatted down and grabbed Hongji's chin. You really want to kill me? Han Qing's elbow strike caused Hongji's mind to become muddled. He looked forward in a daze. Yi Zichen patted Hongji's face hard, causing him to gradually regain consciousness. The first thing he did after waking up was to look towards Han Qing. After confirming that he didn't see wrong, his eyes were instantly filled with rage. What happened to you? Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked at Hongji's face. You still want to fight? Han Qing took a few steps forward. Seeing this, Honger couldn't help but sneer. Ha ha ha, Han Qing, I didn't expect that you would also become the lackey of these invaders. What a joke, what a joke! After slapping down, Han Qing retracted his hand. Sir, please forgive me for my offense just now. It's fine. Yi Zichen shook his head at Han Qing, then glanced at the teeth on the ground, as well as Hongji's swollen face. Are you human? Heh. Honger turned his head away. Don't think that I don't know anything just because you don't tell me. Yi Zichen squatted on the ground and indicated towards Hong Er's brothers. You should be someone who values relationships, right? You don't want to see them die, right? Do you believe that the current me only needs to raise my hand slightly, and they will have to say goodbye to this world? You, Shu. Yi Zichen placed the sword on Hongji's mouth. You should understand the law of the jungle. Just like how you bullied my people just now, I can also bully you without any scruples now. With that, Yi Zichen grabbed Honger by the neck. Tell me, why do you know how to use fire? The boss of the casino taught me. Honger hesitated for a moment. Hongji hesitated for a while before he said, he gave me a fruit, and after that, I was able to use the fire element. Fruit? Yi Zichen hadn't discovered any fruits on his way to the land of the elements. Why did he teach you? I saw him use fire to kill people last time, said Honger. He's going to teach you just because he saw it? Don't you think that's a bit ridiculous? Yi Zichen grinned. If it were me, I'd kill you too. That's the truth. If you don't believe me, you can go ask him. Well said. Yizichin knew very well that Scarface was already dead, so Honger's words couldn't be trusted. However, he didn't mention it. Then I'll go ask him. If he says something different, then you're dead for sure, said Honger. With that, Yizichin tossed Honger to the ground. I'll give you two choices now. If you want to live, then hand over all the money you have on you. Leave nothing behind. There is another way, and that is death. Choose for yourself. Yizichin stood up with a chuckle, then looked at Honger. Don't you find this familiar? That's right, I learned it from you. Chapter 22:17. A charred forest. Countless trees had been burned into charcoal, standing tall in this world. A breeze blew past. Some charred sawdust would fall from the sky. Naked. Meng Luo giggled as she pointed in front of her. The flame rat covered her eyes. Are you an idiot? Bai Sei and Qingyu also covered their eyes and turned around to avoid looking at the situation in front of them. All of you, squat properly with your hands on your heads. Yizichin held his sword and looked at the guys squatting in a row. They were Honger and his subordinate. It was a robbery. They had to be thorough. At that moment they did not have a single piece of clothing on them. They did not even have a piece of cloth to cover themselves up. Their clothes were all piled up a few meters away. The extreme shame caused them to be unable to raise their heads. Exciting. Yizichin squatted in front of Honger and looked at him with a mocking gaze. Trampling on their dignity was the purpose of this trip. Bullying. Humiliation. The humans of the first universe had been bullied by these natives for far too long. Yizichin did not feel like it was too much. At the very least, their heads were still on their own neck. What's more, this was actually Hua Jianrou's request. Come, look at the camera. While the other girls covered their faces, Hua Jianrou turned on the recording function and circled around Honger and company, filming them. Honger and his subordinates buried their heads even deeper. Come, I'll give you a close-up. Suddenly, Hua Jianrou squatted down with a smile. Yizichin pulled her up. What? Is there something wrong with your brain? Yizichin rolled his eyes. You're such a nice girl, why are you filming them for no reason? Are you going to get married in the future? Tisk. Hua Jianrou twitched her mouth but did not insist. Yizichin turned off the recording function, then saw her walk in front of Honger. Don't mess with my people anymore. When you see our nebula, just walk around, understand? Honger looked down without saying anything. Hua Jianrou kicked him, as if she was venting her anger. F***ck off. The group of men quickly ran off with their naked butts. Naked. Meng Luo giggled and muttered. I told you not to look, the flame rat shouted. The Star Cloud members cheered. This time, it could be said that they had found out all the grievances they had suffered before. What are you shouting for? If you really don't want to be bullied, then go and strengthen yourself. Hua Jianrou poured cold water on them. You are all experts in the real world. Are you really willing to be bullied by these aborigines? During this time, Yizichin walked up to Han Qing's side. Milord, do you want me to follow them? Before Yizichin could speak, Han Qing already guessed his intentions. He clearly heard the conversation between Yizichin and Honger. That's right. Go follow Honger and see what he did after that, Yizichin nodded. Do we need to capture the casino owner? Han Qing asked. No need, he's already dead, Yizichin frowned. I didn't mention it because I didn't want Honger to know. What you need to pay attention to is whether he goes to the casino after he returns. You only need to follow him for 3 days. This subordinate understands. With that, Han Qing disappeared from the forest. Yizichin's intentions were actually very simple. He wanted to confirm whether Honger had any direct contact with the casino owner. Or were there other people among them? Actually, Yizichin shouldn't care about these things. The reason why he cared so much was because of a message that White Phoenix had sent him a few days ago. The elemental commander did not truly die. That guy was more cunning than he had imagined. The elemental commander that he killed that day was not his complete form. The elemental commander had to die. If he didn't die, then the chicks in the elemental lands would not be safe. As for the people in the novice village, who could use fire, Yi Zichen felt like this was a clue, and a breakthrough. I'll send you the payment later. Hua Jianro walked over. Hearing that, Yi Zichen turned around and saw that the Star Cloud members were either preparing to return to the city or log off. It's taken care of? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. More or less, Hua Jianro shrugged. Unfortunately, the effects weren't particularly good. What do you mean? Some people have already decided to never play this game again. Hua Jianro sighed at those who no longer had the Nebula Seal and had left the Nebula Guild. They were considered strong in real life, but after entering the game, they suddenly climbed up from the bottom. Some of them might lack the courage to start all over again. You can't blame them. This place is indeed quite stifling. Yi Zichen smiled, then shrugged as he looked at the people who left the guild. More importantly, it might be the psychological gap. If everyone started from the same level, they would definitely be able to persist. But the problem now is that the Aborigines are much stronger than us. It's said that there are many resources here, but not many people have seen them. You saw it. Hua Jianro smiled. Yeah, that's why I like it here. Yi Zichen didn't hide it. For people like you, this is really a paradise. There was envy in Hua Jianro's eyes. Fortunately, I saw some hope after investing a large amount of money. You, I won't tell you. Hua Jianro shook her head. It can't be that everything is yours. People like us who have invested a lot of money have to see some benefit. This video can also be uploaded to the forum. Even though some people have left, this video will definitely attract more people. Good luck. Oh yeah, don't forget to add me, said Yi Zichen. Is there an advertising fee? 28 points. Yi Zichen reached out his hand, while Hua Jianro nodded with a smile. It's a pleasure working with you. After shaking hands lightly, Hua Jianro retracted her hand. By the way, if you have time, we can really meet up in real life. Those guys in the group all have the same idea. Meeting in real life? Yi Zichen frowned. The universe is too vast. It won't be easy to run into each other in real life. The problem will be overcome by the price. Hua Jianro hooked her arm around Yi Zichen's shoulder with a giggle. We also want to see what the mighty future god of the second universe looks like in reality. Especially when it came to rouge and makeup, she was the one who complained the most. I suspect she is a prostitute, you'd better be careful with her. Prostitute? Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. Don't tell anyone, she's the only one in the group that doesn't know about this. Hua Jianro raised her eyebrows. Think about the gathering. If you think it through, then I'll send a warship to pick you guys up. Chapter 22:18. The Battleship. It felt very high class. Yi Zichen couldn't help but shake his head with a smile as he watched Hua Jianro walk away. How could he go? His strength was completely established in the second universe. He didn't have enough power to protect himself in the first universe. In comparison to the second universe, the first universe was more dangerous for Yi Zichen. He had to be cautious and cautious to the extreme. At the very least, he had to become a universe level or become the highness of a certain faction. Only then would he truly have the possibility to travel the universe. Sorry, the gathering might have to wait for a while. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes, then put his sword behind his back and walked towards the group. The golden-haired girl stood in the middle of the group. Meng Luo and the flame rat chatted with her. At that very moment, Hua Jianro rushed up and grabbed Qingyu's hands, while her eyes were filled with admiration and gratitude. Goddess! You must be the goddess, right? Qingyu was quite frightened. She wanted to retract her hands, but Hua Jianro held them tightly. Don't be afraid, this is our Rojia, and also the head of our guild, the flame rat explained with a smile. Hua Jianro also spoke up, you must be the goddess. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, my people might have been killed by those guys. Qingyu bit her lips carefully, while a hint of fear could still be seen in her eyes. Rojia, you scared Qingyu. The flame rat walked up and pushed Hua Jianrou away. These spoils of war should be mine, right? Yi Zichen squatted on the side and pointed at the equipment that had yet to be taken away. Here. Hua Jianrou rolled her eyes. Yi Zichen did not hesitate and squatted on the ground to start counting the spoils of war. Speaking of which, these natives were rather poor. Their equipment were all some terrible white and blue equipment. Only Hongji's long blade was of the dark gold grade. That was still worth a bit of money. As for the others, Yi Zichen did not throw them away and put them all away. This is the future god, our friend, the flame rat explained when he saw Qingyu look towards Yi Zichen's direction. He's a money grubber. Hua Jianrou rolled her eyes. However, he is the strongest among us. This is undeniable. I'm in need of money, okay? I'm not a miser. After Yi Zichen put away all the spoils of war, he walked over and waved towards Qingyu. Hello. As a native, you still helped us. I have high hopes for you. Well, I'll invite everyone to my house. Without any warning, Qingyu suddenly sent out an invitation. Yi Zichen and company were shocked. The natives actually invited them to be guests. Such a thing had never happened before. Qingyu was from a wealthy family in the village. There was a big house in the village. When he returned to the gate, the guards called him Miss. Only, when they saw Yi Zichen's group, their gazes were unfriendly. The people here are very hostile towards us. Hua Jianrou sent a message in the party announcement. The hostility of the natives towards the players wasn't something new, so it wasn't particularly noteworthy. They came here because of Qingyu's invitation. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to have too much contact with the natives here. I didn't expect you to be the young lady of a wealthy family, Hua Jianrou smiled. Qingyu smiled. Let me introduce you to my dad. He doesn't have any ill intentions towards you. Not long later, Qingyu skipped over to the living room of the main house. Dad, Qingyu ran in with a smile. When they arrived, there was a middle-aged man sitting in the middle of the hall. He was holding a scroll and reading it. Hearing Qingyu's call, the middle-aged man put down the book and smiled. Xiaoyu, you're back. Dad, let me introduce you. These are the friends I made outside. Qingyu pointed at Yi Zichen and company with her hand. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment when he looked up, then revealed a warm smile. From his gaze, Yi Zichen could see that there was no hostility like the other natives had towards the players. It was just as Qingyu had said. Her father was not hostile towards the people of the first universe, and was instead very friendly. That was rather rare. Indeed, only such an elder could educate a child like Qingyu. You guys are deities, right? Yes, Yi Zichen nodded. The middle-aged man returned the greeting with a smile. Hello, I'm Qingyu's father. My daughter didn't cause any trouble for you, right? Uncle, what are you saying? Your woman is our savior, Hua Jianrou nodded. Meng Luo, the flame rat, and Bai Sei nodded as well. Afterwards, Hua Jianrou explained the situation, causing the Qing family head to frown. Hongji is getting more and more out of line. But Xiaoyu, don't get on his bad side in the future. This person is definitely not a good person. I understand. Qingyu lowered her head. Uncle, don't scold Xiaoyu. That guy only bullies us outsiders. How could he have the guts to make a move on Xiaoyu? Don't worry, if anyone dares to bully Xiaoyu or cause trouble for your family, then come find me. Never mind, go find him. Hua Jianrou patted her chest. Thinking about how she actually didn't have much ability, she pointed at Yi Zichen. His subordinate is amazing, star level. Oh! Qingyu's father was shocked. You're the young man who fought with Han Qing a few days ago? Master. At that moment, before Yi Zichen could reply, a few guards ran in from outside the door. When they saw Yi Zichen and company in the hall, they all frowned. What happened? The guard glanced at Yi Zichen and company once again, then whispered into Qingyu's father's ear. Leave. Yi Zichen signaled the guard to leave, then Qingyu's father looked towards Qingyu with a smile. Xiaoyu, take your friends to the backyard. Okay. Not long after they left, a group of people walked in. Yi Zichen had seen the people leading the group before. They were the ones he saw at the restaurant. They were all shocked when they saw Yi Zichen, then pretended like nothing had happened and directly walked towards Qingyu's father. During this period of time, Yi Zichen paid attention to that guy. He could also feel that he was paying attention to him. Logically speaking, the Qing family had a lot of prestige in the village, so it was normal for some people to visit them. However, these people suddenly came to visit. Yi Zichen had a bad feeling, and it was a very strong feeling. He clicked open his friend list and sent Hua Jianrou a message. We might have brought trouble to the Qing family. Chapter 22:19. Wow, it's so beautiful! Did you grow all these flowers? Yes. The flame rat, Meng Luo and Bai Sei exclaimed as they stood in front of the flower bed. Qingyu smiled silently and shook her head. My mother grew these when she was alive. All of a sudden, the flame rat, Meng Luo and Bai Sei, whose eyes were filled with excitement and joy, froze. It's fine, Qingyu smiled. My mother was a gardener when she was alive. She liked flowers a lot. This was her flower bed when she was alive. I'm sure she would be very happy if you guys praised these flowers. Qingyu's eyes lit up, then she smiled and put her hands behind her back. Sit here for a bit, I'll go get some drinks for you guys. During that time, Hua Jianrou and Yi Zichen also sat down. The two of them did not speak, but sent private messages back and forth while looking at each other. What do you mean? Hua Jianrou's expression turned solemn when she received Yi Zichen's message. Why did we cause trouble for them? Do you remember the people who came when we left? Yi Zichen replied. Those guys are very important to our first place. I felt it, Hua Jianrou said. I'm worried that they will harm the Qing family because of our appearance. Yi Zichen was still unable to truly relax when he thought about their gazes. Those were definitely gazes filled with killing intent. Not only towards Yi Zichen and company, but also towards Qingyu and her father. Everyone, why aren't you sitting down? Qingyu's father sat on a chair and smiled at the people who had yet to sit down. At that moment, several more people walked in from outside the hall. These people were all elders of the family. They held high positions in the family and had a certain amount of authority in the family. Do you guys have to be like this as well? Qingyu's father was not too surprised when he saw them appear. The only thing that could be seen in his eyes was a bit of pity and sorrow. Senior Qing Hui. Lord Mu Yi. The two of them looked at each other, and a long silence lingered in the hall. After a long while Mu Yi, who was staring at Yi Zichen and company, nodded. Are you still determined? I have never changed my mind, Qing Hui smiled. Qing Yu's father, Qing Hui, revealed a smile. But it seems that my persistence is useless. Qing Hui, do you still not understand? An elder walked out from the crowd. This old man was the grand elder of the Qing clan, and he was Qing Hui's uncle. Those people are invaders. They are robbers who stole our resources. I don't agree with your thoughts. Qing Hui was still smiling. But I didn't deny your decision. What are you doing now? Do you really want me to stand on your side? Can't I remain neutral? The purge plan has begun. No one can remain neutral. Mu Yi frowned and stared at Qing Hui emotionlessly. Your attitude is really tough. All right, I understand. I'll agree to it. Qing Hui shrugged helplessly. I'll participate in this purge. Is that okay? You can leave now. I want to continue reading. Hearing this, the great elder smiled and let out a long sigh of relief. Sire Mu Yi, that's enough. Qing Hui has already agreed. Please reply to the village chief, since you've agreed. Senior Qing Hui, please deal with the intruders in your residence, Mu Yi said before the grand elder could finish speaking. They are my daughter's friends. Qing Hui's expression suddenly darkened. They are invaders, Mu Yi frowned. The atmosphere in the hall grew colder and colder. Qing Hui and Mu Yi looked at each other. At the same time, Mu Yi's subordinates also drew their weapons. The few elders of the Qing clan revealed shocked expressions, and the Grand Elder even tried to console him. Sire Mu Yi, calm down, there's no need for things to go this far, right? Heh! Mu Yi scoffed. I received news that your clan's daughter paid a few million to redeem the invaders not long ago. He was very curious as to why the Qing clan was so friendly towards the invaders. If they were neutral, shouldn't they just sit back and do nothing? What? All the elders of the Qing clan were shocked. Qing Hui, is this true? Hong Er really is one of your people. Qing Hui narrowed his eyes. My daughter has her mother's personality. She's kind to begin with. No matter who it is, she'll maintain that kindness, not just towards those so-called invaders. I don't care. Mu Yi smiled. I just need you to prove to us your sincerity. Is your so-called sincerity just to kill them? Qing Hui was furious. It's Qing Yu again, the Great Elder suddenly shouted. The Great Elder suddenly shouted. I've said it before, our Qing clan will be destroyed by her, she is inauspicious. Shut up. Actually, you're the first friends I've made. Qing Yu sat on a chair and looked at the flowers and plants in front of her. No one in the village likes me. They think I'm inauspicious. Inauspicious? The flame rat frowned. My mother died when I was born, Qing Yu smiled wryly. Qing Yu smiled bitterly. At that time, my family said that when I was born, a divine stone fell from the sky and destroyed our family's shop. From then on, our family's business plummeted. They all said that I was a jinx. What kind of superstition is that? The flame rat twitched his mouth. Anyways, everyone in the village said that I'm an inauspicious star. No one likes me. Also, as you can see, my hair color wasn't golden at first. Qing Yu touched her hair. Qing Yu touched her own hair. Originally, my hair was red at the beginning. Red is the symbol of calamity. And my eyes, you guys see. Qing Yu's pupils were indeed glowing red, but that was very normal for Yi Zichen and the others. There were people with all sorts of hair colors in the universe and all sorts of eyes. They couldn't say that she was a symbol of disaster just because of that. That was a symbol of ignorance. You guys are so weird. In my hometown, there are a lot of people who dye their hair red, Yi Zichen smiled. A lot of people like this hair color. Is that so? Qing Yu raised her eyebrows. Yeah, and your red pupils. We have a type of contact lens there. It's also red, and there are a lot of people who buy it, Yi Zichen shrugged. Your place is really special, Qing Yu smiled. I believe your world must be very interesting, unlike here, where people can't see any hope. Chapter 22:20. No hope at all. The people in front of the table all paused, while Yi Zichen also looked at Qing Yu in surprise. Where did this sentence come from? Qing Yu, what do you mean? Meng Luo blinked. Do you think this place is too boring? In fact, your world and our world, Meng Luo. Bai Sei suddenly grabbed her. The fusion of the universes was something that the Virtual World Corporation had no choice but to announce. Just because they knew about this doesn't mean that they can let the people of Universe 2 know about it. Meng Luo frowned and lowered her head. She also felt that she had been too impulsive just now. She had almost told them about the universe fusion. Qing Yu, don't think too much. Hua Jianrou smiled and held her hand, her eyes filled with warmth. In this world, everyone is forging ahead. You're not the only one. All of us are. Are all of you slaves? Suddenly, Qing Yu said something shocking. The flame rat, Bai Sei, Meng Luo, Hua Jianrou and Yi Zichen all stared at Qing Yu's face, and saw the helplessness and sadness in her eyes. Do you know this village? Slaves? Is someone enslaving you? The flame rat frowned. I don't know, but father said so. Qing Yu looked at the sky. Father told me that this village is no longer the village it used to be. He wants to wait for all the flowers in the flower bed to bloom before taking me away from the village. Why do we have to wait for all the flowers to bloom? Stop talking. Hua Jianrou kicked the flame rat hard. Why wait for it to bloom? Of course it was because of Qingyu's mother. Perhaps Qingyu's father wanted to witness all the flowers in the flower bed bloom, and it could also be considered as a witness for his wife. Or perhaps he wanted to leave behind one last memory. These were the matters of Qingyu's family. Why was an outsider asking about it? Qingyu, do you know anything else? Yi Zichen frowned. If I remember correctly, you revealed a very surprised expression when I used flames at the start. Yes. Do the slaves you mentioned have anything to do with this fire? Bai Sei and the others looked at Yi Zichen. They didn't know why Yi Zichen had connected the dots. Qingyu frowned lightly as well, and he nodded lightly after hesitating for a short while. Yes. Can you tell me? Yi Zichen's tone was rather urgent. Sure. Qingyu nodded. Some time ago, I secretly went to the clan's meeting. The family meeting was a meeting between the patriarch and the elders. Even though Qingyu was the daughter of the first wife, she didn't have the qualifications to participate. She was very curious about the contents of the meeting, because every time the meeting ended, her father would always have a worried expression. She did not ask, nor did she say anything. After that, she secretly listened to the contents of the meeting. It was also on that occasion. She heard about the people of God. The purge plan was mentioned. She was surprised at the time. Why? She really didn't understand. Why did the villagers have to become enemies with outsiders? There was one time. She secretly went to eavesdrop on the family's meeting. The elders in the clan said that the outsiders had invaded the resources that belonged to them. The outsiders were raiders. Someone who wanted to devour everything they had. But, weren't these people still God's citizens not long ago? They were God's people. Why did he suddenly become an intruder? Those God's citizens were clearly very friendly, at least the ones she interacted with were very kind people. Purge. The flame rat opened its eyes wide. Just what is purge? Kill you all, Qingyu bit her lips. Qingyu bit her lips and said, the purge plan is to kill all the gods in the village and outside the village at a specific time. I don't know why we're going to kill them all. Kill us all. Hua Jianrou clenched her fist. Meng Luo covered her mouth in shock, while Bai Sei and Yi Zichen frowned darkly. My father refused, Qingyu quickly explained. My father doesn't support this, and he also voted against the wishes of the other elders in the meeting. Then what does this have to do with fire? Yi Zichen asked. When I was eavesdropping, the elders in the clan mentioned Lord Fire. Qingyu bit her lips. Qingyu bit her lips. This Lord Hua seems to be a very powerful martial artist. Everyone in the village has submitted to him, and so has our Qin clan. We are like his slaves, we must do whatever he wants us to do. Lord Fire. Yi Zichen frowned deeply. Qingyu spoke up again. Those trusted subordinates of Lord Fire can use flames. Mu Yi, who just came, can use flames. Everyone in the clan is afraid of him. I hate him a lot because he looks at me very strangely. The clan even said that they want me to marry him when I grow up. Why? The flame rat suddenly jumped up. Calm down, Hua Jianrou frowned. However, Yi Zichen knitted his eyebrows tightly. That Mu Yi you're talking about, is he the guy with the buzz cut and missing a finger who walked at the very front just now? That's him, Qingyu nodded. Crap. All of a sudden, Yi Zichen stood up from the chair. What happened? Hua Jianrou and company also stood up. Yi Zichen did not explain to them, and quickly clicked open his friends list. Han Qin, where are you? Following Honger. Where did he go? Who did he come into contact with? He didn't go anywhere, he just sat at home the entire time. However, a person wearing a conical hat went to his house, then left very quickly. This subordinate did not see his face clearly, I only saw that the person's left hand was missing a finger, Han Qin replied. Boom. Yi Zichen's head instantly buzzed. As expected, Hongr and Mu Yi were together. The casino owner was also together with them. Yi Zichen was a bit confused before. Why did they suddenly come to the Qing household? He had thought that it was a coincidence, but from the looks of it they purposely came. Yi Zichen and Bai Feng had already guessed the casino owner's identity. It was very possible that the casino owner had already notified others to pay attention to Yi Zichen and Bai Feng before he died. That was one possibility. There was another possibility. It was very possible that these people were the incarnations of the elemental commanders, or that the elemental commanders knew everything that they saw and experienced. The elemental commanders immediately sent people over after Yi Zichen and Qingyu came into contact. Don't worry about Hongr anymore. Hurry up and come to the Qing household. You should know where it is, right? This subordinate knows. Yi Zichen closed the chat, then stood in front of the table with a deathly pale expression. Everyone else looked at Yi Zichen worriedly. Great deity! Let's go! Yi Zichen gripped the longsword in his hand. Bring Qingyu along, we're leaving this place quickly. Chapter 22-21. Definitely. Something huge is definitely going to happen. Yi Zichen looked at the front yard with a dark expression, while his eyes flashed with sharpness. Everyone else did not know what exactly happened, but when Hua Jianrou saw Yi Zichen's gaze, she frowned and thought back to the private message she sent to Yi Zichen. Let's go! Don't walk in front, let's climb over the wall. Yi Zichen stopped everyone, then leaped onto the wall of the manor. The moment he did so, he suddenly reached out his hand and signaled everyone not to come up. What happened? Hua Jianrou shouted. Yi Zichen let out a deep breath and stared outside the wall. What exactly happened? With that, Hua Jianrou also leaped onto the wall. When she looked towards the direction Yi Zichen was looking at, she instantly froze, then slowly turned around to look at Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen nodded without saying anything. Rojia, what happened? The flame rat grabbed Qingyu's arm, while Meng Luo and Bai Sei also looked at the two people on the wall in confusion. Little rat, you decide. Hua Jianrou let out a deep breath, then looked into the flame rat's eyes. Log off or continue? Hua Jianrou clenched her fist and looked forward. If we log off, we might all survive, but Qingyu and the Qing family will most likely be wiped out. If we don't log off, Qingyu might survive or die, and we might die as well. Decide. Die. The flame rat gulped and subconsciously looked at Qingyu's face. See, can I go up and take a look? Hearing that, Hua Jianrou looked towards Yi Zichen. When she saw him nod, she also nodded, indicating that the flame rat could go up. She stood on the wall, Bai Sei and Meng Luo also jumped up. How is this possible? Heavens! What exactly is this? Like a swarm of locusts, the natives held weapons in their hands and surrounded the Qing family's residence from all directions. They roughly estimated that there were at least 500 of them, according to the levels of the natives. The weakest of them was at least at the 4th level of domain. Qingyu stood silently and looked up at the people on top of the wall. The flame rat also clenched his fist when he saw the situation. Decide. Make your decision. Hua Jianrou couldn't help but urge the flame rat. Its lips wriggled and its eyes were full of struggle. After a long while, he tilted his head and looked at Hua Jianrou. Why me? Don't you like her? Hua Jianrou shouted. Since you like her, of course you can make the decision. Quick! Hua Jianrou calculated the distance between them and the natives. Make a decision quickly. If we delay any longer, we'll be pulled into battle mode. By then, we won't be able to log off even if we want to. Everyone on the wall stared at the flame rat. The 4 pairs of eyes multiplied the pressure in the flame rat's heart. It grabbed its head and squatted down. How could this be? The flame rat's eyes were filled with fear as it buried its head between its knees. He is not a leader. His father often said the same thing about him. Whenever he was faced with a choice, he would always feel terrified. The thing he hated the most was making choices. So, among Bai Se, Meng Luo, and Hua Jianrou, only the flame rat was a man. However, Hua Jianrou was the one who made the decisions. What he had to do was to follow Hua Jianrou's decision. He had to do what he had to do. At this moment, the situation was very clear. The natives were coming for the Qing family. He wanted to comfort himself and lie to himself that these people were not coming for the Qing family. Would the Qing family be annihilated? In other words, everyone here would die. The kind uncle he had just met and Qingyu. There were hundreds of natives. There were only 6 of them, including Qingyu. They had no chance of winning. Logging off might be the best decision. They would log back in after everything was settled. No matter what happened to the Qing family, at least they survived. This world was no longer a game. They only had one life. "Let's go," the flame rat muttered softly as it squatted on the wall. Suddenly, a beautiful color appeared in its mind. It was her. Qingyu. From the moment it saw her, the flame rat felt as if it had lost its soul. This was the first time it had felt like this since it was born. When he saw Qingyu say that she was treated as a jinx by her clansmen and the villagers, the sadness in her eyes caused his heart to ache. When the great god mentioned cosmetic lenses and hair dyeing, Qingyu revealed a look of longing and anticipation. He wanted to accompany her to witness everything. Actually, he didn't know whether he liked her or not, but he wanted to stay with Qingyu. He wanted to see her smile, watching her smile, happy to live. If she died. A scene appeared in the flame rat's mind. It was the ruins of the Qing family after they were annihilated. They successfully went offline to avoid the disaster. When they logged back in, they once again returned to the ruins. In the ruins, they saw Qingyu. She fell in front of the flower bed with a flower petal in her hand. Her clear eyes gazed at the destroyed flower bed. "No, no, no!" the flame rat shouted. Hua Jianrou and company all looked towards him. "Follow your heart." Suddenly, Yi Zichen's voice sounded out beside the flame rat's ear. "Make the decision you want to make, don't let yourself regret it. Think and do whatever you want. Our lives are too long." Great God, Rojie, Meng Luo, Bai Jie, the flame rat looked up at the wall. His eyes shone brightly, but they all smiled at him. "You guys, what us? I was the one who helped you fight back when you were young," Hua Jianrou smiled. "Having a little brother like you really makes me worry." "We're good friends," Meng Luo giggled. "If I'm not here, you guys will probably mess around again." Bai Se let out a long sigh. Their intentions were very clear. They would advance and retreat with the flame rat. That was what they would do in reality, and it would be the same in the second world. "You guys, little rat, if we abandon you and run, do you think our dad will let us go?" Hua Jianrou shrugged. "Our seniors are comrades who have gone through life and death together. They have experienced much more dangers and difficulties than us in their adventures in the universe. Have they ever given up on each other? My dad always says that if it wasn't for your father, who knows how many times he would have died. Every time I help you fight, he would praise me very happily." Rojie. Hot tears flowed down from the flame rat's eyes. Yi Zichen reached out his hand with a smile. "I don't have such a deep friendship like you guys, but I love money. $1,000,000, I'll take you guys out." Chapter 22:22. The flame rat looked at the people in front of him silently. Yi Zichen let out a deep breath. He slowly stood up from the wall. He looked at the natives that were getting closer and closer to the Qing family manor. He looked at Qingyu, who had a confused look in her eyes. "I've decided. I don't have anything to hesitate about anymore. I want her alive." The flame rat looked at Qingyu and muttered. Yi Zichen and company couldn't help but smile. "What did you say? Louder." "I want her alive," the flame rat shouted. Hua Jianrou covered her ears with a frown, while Yi Zichen kicked him down. "Then go to her side and protect her." Bai Se, Meng Luo and Hua Jianrou all stood up straight. At that moment, they seemed to have returned to their childhood. They were the ones that stood in front of him when the flame rat was being bullied. This 1 million isn't easy to earn. It's not easy for me to be the big sister either. Yizichen and Hua Jianro couldn't help but smile at each other. Crackle, the flames burned. When the natives saw the flames on Yizichen's body, they all revealed a look of hesitation. Those that could release flames were all Lord Fire's trusted aides. Did they already make a move? All of a sudden, they sped up in an attempt to contact Yizichen. You're my accomplices now? Yizichen smiled, while the flames in his hands grew even hotter. Attack! As he roared, the flames instantly engulfed the natives. The natives did not understand what was going on. They thought that Lord Fire's trusted aides actually devoured them in a sea of flames. Senior Qing Hui. Mu Yi stood in the hall and rubbed the back of his sword. The silver longsword was polished until it shone so brightly that even his face could be seen clearly on it. A wise man submits to circumstances. I know that you are not weak. You are at the peak of domain, just one step away from breaking through the star level and becoming a dragon. It is also because of your strength that Lord Fire places so much importance on you. He isn't human at all. Didn't you feel it? Qing Hui frowned. He is an outsider. Compared to your so-called invaders, he is our true enemy. Senior Qing Hui, you misspoke. Mu Yi's eyes turned serious. Qing Hui sighed silently, but didn't say anything else. He could sense that these people were no longer rational. They had been brainwashed by the so-called Lord Fire. Indoctrinate. It no longer belonged to humans. I almost forgot. Senior, I have something to say here, Mu Yi said. What? Qing Hui frowned. Lord Hua has taken a liking to your daughter. He hopes that you can offer your daughter to him, said Mu Yi with a smile. Qing Hui was instantly enraged. What did you say? Don't get too excited. Of course we won't ask for it for free. Do you want to see your wife? Mu Yi smiled. Qing Hui froze. As long as you offer your daughter to Lord Fire, it's not impossible to resurrect your wife, Mu Yi said with a smile. In order to convince you, we've also brought our sincerity. With a light wave of his hand, Mu Wan's subordinate took out a porcelain bottle. This porcelain vase was surrounded by flame seals. When the vase appeared, Qing Hui shed tears for some reason. Looks like you've felt it. Mu Yi smiled when he saw the tears in Qing Hui's eyes. Inside this porcelain vase is your wife's soul. Qing Hui's arms trembled when he heard this. The elders in the hall were also shocked. A soul. Could a person's soul be retrieved after death? They had never heard of this before. Just who was this Lord Hua? He was actually able to retrieve her soul. May I take a look? Qing Hui's eyes were empty. She slowly extended her hand, filled with longing. This was the result Mu Yi wanted to see. He nodded with a smile. Of course. He took a few steps forward, undid the seal, and uncorked the bottle. Wisps of unconscious soul lingered in the hall. When they all gathered, they became Qing Hui's deceased wife. This, the elders in the hall couldn't help but click their tongues. Qing Hui stared at the unconscious soul in front of her. Senior Qing Hui, do you believe me now? Mu Yi shrugged. As long as you give your daughter to Lord Fire, we can use this soul to resurrect your wife. You love your wife very much, right? She's a daughter. After she comes back to life, she can have another child. Am I right? This was Mu Yi's trump card. Qing Hui was famous for being infatuated with his wife in the village. He loved his wife to the extreme. With his identity and status, it was normal for him to find a few more wives after his wife's death. But he didn't. After his wife's death, he began to clear his mind and read a book every day. That book was his wife's favorite when she was alive. In Mu Yi's opinion, as long as he used this trump card, Qing Hui would definitely obey. You're right. Qing Hui looked up at the soul above her and slowly uttered a few words. That's right, Senior Qing Hui. That's what you should say. Mu Yi nodded in satisfaction and put the soul away. We'll take good care of it. We'll definitely resurrect your wife in less than 3 years. You want little you, right? Yes, that's right. Of course, you still need to submit to Lord Hua and help him expand his territory. Sure. Qing Hui's eyes were hollow, as if he was immersed in his thoughts of his wife. Mu Yi's smile widened. He had prepared a backup plan. If Qing Hui was stubborn, he would take Qing Yu back by force. He didn't expect it to be so easy. Then please invite Miss here, Senior Qing Hui. Kill those intruders while you're at it. Okay. Qing Hui nodded and looked at the porcelain bottle in Mu Yi's hand. Can I hold my wife again? Wait for your wife to come back to life. Okay. Mu Yi didn't want to give it to him, but he thought it would be easier to follow up, so he nodded and put the porcelain bottle in Qing Hui's hand. You have to be careful. If the porcelain bottle is damaged, your wife's soul will also be destroyed. My soul will be destroyed? Qing Hui's eyes were hollow as he nodded silently. Then, his eyes regained their sharpness and he crushed the porcelain bottle. The broken pieces pierced Qing Hui's palm. Bright red blood trickled down his palm. Freedom was what she wanted most when she was alive, but I couldn't give it to her. Now, how can I let her be trapped in this small bottle? You're free this time. Chapter 22-23. The bottle broke. The pure soul flew into the sky. Mu Yi's expression was a little dull for a moment. Broke it? Qing Hui actually. He took out the spare soul porcelain bottle. Fortunately, he had thought about it. He was afraid that the porcelain bottle would be accidentally destroyed, so he always carried it with him. Dong, Mu Yi had just taken out the porcelain bottle. Qing Hui punched it. The fist landed on Mu Yi's arm. The huge force shook Mu Yi's arm. He couldn't help but let go. The porcelain bottle slipped from his hand. Mu Yi's eyes widened, and he wanted to reach out to catch it. But it was blocked by Qing Hui. Crack! It broke again. This was the last vessel that could hold the soul. Qing Hui. Mu Yi grabbed Qing Hui's collar. Don't you want your wife to come back to life? No. Qing Hui pushed Mu Yi away, smiling wantonly. I'm really sorry to let your wishful thinking fail. Suddenly, a longsword appeared in Qing Hui's hand. Mu Yi subconsciously retreated, holding the longsword in a defensive posture. Unfortunately, Qing Hui didn't want to fight him. Instead, he wanted to use the longsword to completely break his wife's soul in the hall. Qing Hui. You're free. As he watched the soul disappear from his sight, a stream of tears uncontrollably slid down from his murky eyes. No one could understand it. How much heartache did each swing of the sword hurt him? Qing Hui, it seems that you're determined to go against us. Mu Yi finally understood that Qing Hui didn't want to team up with them from the beginning. He pretended to be very obedient. It was for the scene where the porcelain bottle was broken. In that case, I don't want to waste my breath on you. Do you think you can resist? Our people are all outside the Qing family's residence. Obey or die. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud roar in the hall. Mu Yi frowned. Not long after, someone rushed in from outside the hall and whispered in Mu Yi's ear for a long time. Damn it! Catch her for me! With that, Mu Yi also ran out of the hall. The Qing clan wasn't important. The most important one was the Qing family's young Miss, Qingyu. She was the person that Lord Hua specifically wanted. He absolutely could not let her escape. F***ck. There are too many people. With Yi Zichen in the lead, Hua Jianrou and company were all trapped in a corner of the Qing manor's backyard. In the end, it was still too late. Even though Yi Zichen's flames had caught the natives off guard, they still couldn't help it. But there was a difference in strength and numbers. Their plan to escape through the backyard was foiled. From the main entrance, Yi Zichen frowned, then continuously tried to contact Han Qing. Now, if they wanted to break out of the encirclement, it was no longer enough to rely on their strength. The main entrance? Shouldn't there be more people at the main entrance? Bai Se, who was not a talkative person, frowned. We can't even get out from here. If we go to the main entrance, listen to the future. Hua Jianro opened her mouth and viciously chopped down on the head of a native in front of her. Fresh blood mixed with brain matter splashed onto Hua Jianro's face. Meng Luo and Bai Sei were stunned. Hua Jianro gulped. Murder. Actually, this was her first time. Let's go. Hua Jianro wiped the sticky substance off her face, then jumped towards the wall, while the others followed closely behind. Kill! Weapons clashed, and the sounds of fighting could be heard. When Yi Zichen and company arrived at the front yard, it had already turned into a smoky battlefield. The people of the Qing family. The natives brought by Mu Yi. The two groups of people fought together fearlessly. It's already started? Yi Zichen frowned, then signaled everyone to not go out. Qingyu, who was being dragged by the flame rat, looked at the scene in front of her with fear. Qing Hui. Boom. Suddenly, two people flew out from the roof of the manor. One of them was bathed in flames, while the person opposite him was Qingyu's father, Qing Hui. Dad! Qingyu shouted. Mu Yi and Qing Hui, who stood on the roof, saw Yi Zichen and company squatting in the corner, as well as Qingyu, who was protected by them. Catch her! Mu Yi, who was bathed in flames, shouted. At the same time, he also dived down. Along the way, Qing Hui made a move to stop him. At that moment, Qing Hui looked towards Qingyu, his eyes filled with fatherly love. Then, he looked towards Yi Zichen. Their gazes met. Qing Hui nodded towards Yi Zichen, who nodded back. Under Mu Yi's command, the aboriginals rushed towards Qingyu like madmen, ignoring the Qing clansmen along the way. Protect the young lady! The Qing clansmen shouted. Yi Zichen glared. Charge! Boom! Fire! Yi Zichen charged at the very front. Flames covered his body, and he threw them at the natives he saw. Then, he unsheathed the sword on his back and slashed at the native's neck. Blood splattered onto Yi Zichen's face. Meng Luo, Bai Sei, the flame rat and Qingyu, who stood at the back, trembled in fear. They had never killed anyone before. Even if they had fought before, it was just fighting. It was completely different from killing. They had all been protected by their clansmen as they grew up. This was the first time. Die. As the eldest sister, Hua Jianro gripped her axe and charged at the front, opening a path for her younger siblings. She was also very afraid. But this was her responsibility. Rojia! Meng Luo suddenly shouted. Hua Jianro turned around and was slashed in the arm by the natives. Her left arm was directly chopped off. The axe in her hand also fell to the ground. F***ck. There were truly too many natives. The Qing clansmen were unable to hold them off. Even though they had been fighting for Qingyu. More and more natives appeared in front of Yi Zichen. As for themselves, Yi Zichen was the only one in the group who truly dared to kill. Hua Jianro gritted her teeth and fought for her younger siblings. The others could not be counted on at all. Now that Hua Jianro was heavily injured, Yi Zichen was the only one left. The situation was extremely dire. Since they could not break through, they could only retreat. The natives in the backyard also rushed in. Die! Yi Zichen clenched his teeth and charged at the very front with his sword. They had no way out. They could not log off even if they wanted to. Kill their way out. Or die. Fight! Fight! Just what are you guys doing? Waiting for death will only result in death. Grab your weapons and fight. Yi Zichen shouted, then looked at the children behind him who were quite frightened. Ugh! Another natives were killed with a single slash. Heads rolled down beside Bai Sei and company, causing their lips to turn pale in fright. Just what are you guys doing? Fight! Yi Zichen felt that the sword in his hand was rather blunt, but he still swung it to protect them as they charged at the very front. Pucci, at that moment, a sword stabbed into his stomach. He clenched his teeth and used his sword to break the blade, causing it to stab into his stomach. Then, he slashed at the neck of the natives with bloodshot eyes. Die! As the sword slashed out, more and more wounds appeared on Yi Zichen's body. Hua Jianrou clenched her teeth and picked up a long sword from the ground. She ignored the condition of her left arm and had a menacing gaze. Die. Dong. Suddenly, Yi Zichen flew back and fell heavily onto the ground. Several natives slashed towards him at the same time. He blocked with his sword and looked at Bai Sei and company with a tilt of his head. Fight. Hua Jianrou was hit once again, causing her to kneel on the ground. Yi Zichen was held up by several natives, causing him to be unable to move. Bai Sei, Little Loli and the flame rat watched on helplessly. Yi Zichen's trembling hands slowly stopped. He gripped the weapons in his hands. Pucci, several streaks of blood landed on their faces, especially Bai Sei. Especially the white, when the blood fell on her veil, it was so dazzling. Go to hell. Chapter 22-24. Go die. Heads fell to the ground. At the same time, Hua Jianrou's flame rat also stabbed its weapon into the natives' chests. Blood splattered onto his face. In front of him, blood flowed down his forehead and blurred his vision. This was the smell of blood he disliked the most. But at that moment, he no longer had the right to hate it. Rojia! Meng Luo cried as she hugged Hua Jianrou, who was covered in blood. Meanwhile, the flame rat shouted in front of them. Come, come. Although his hands were trembling, he did not take a single step back. He knew that he couldn't retreat. He had Rojia, Meng Luo, the heavily injured future great god, and Qingyu, who he wanted to protect even if he had to die. However, he was a bit dazed. Not long ago. It wasn't like this. They were clearing a dungeon. With the future great god around, they didn't need to fight monsters. They went to take revenge for their brothers. He met a girl that moved his heart. They were invited here as guests. All of a sudden, the world became like this. He slowly retreated. Meng Luo carried Hua Jianrou to the corner of the wall. The flame rat held its blade horizontally. It stared at the natives in front of them. Bai Jia, look at Rojia. She's not moving. Is she going to die? Meng Luo was already covered in tears. She continuously called out Hua Jianrou's name, but Hua Jianrou did not respond at all. Lil Ro. Bai Yu shouted with fear in his eyes. Future great god Yu, the flame rat looked at Yi Zichen's wounds and the sword in his stomach, then its eyes were filled with regret. Just now did I make the wrong decision? Don't blame yourself, I was blinded by greed, Yi Zichen smiled. Great god, hurry up and look at Rojia. Meng Luo's eyes were filled with tears. When she saw Yi Zichen's appearance, her face was filled with terror. Great god Yu. I'm fine, Yi Zichen patted Meng Luo's head. These are just small wounds for me. Then, Yi Zichen reached out and pressed on Hua Jianrou's chest, then felt her pulse. She's still alive. Really? Bai Sei asked. We have to kill our way out as soon as possible so that she can regain consciousness and log off as soon as possible. Right now, her life force in the real world is definitely weak. We have to get her treated as soon as possible, said Yi Zichen. Alright, let's kill our way out. As he spoke, Bai Sei seemed to have gone mad. He held onto his long sword and started killing. Hua Jianrou was her best friend. He had to save her no matter what, even if he had to become an Azura, even if he had to walk towards hell. Thump, all of a sudden, White's entire body was engulfed in white flames. There are some things you have to experience. This world is not as kind as you think. You like white. Father hoped that you would like red. Forget it. Why am I telling you all this? Don't worry, as long as I'm alive, I will definitely protect you. Father. At that time, I didn't understand why you told me to like red. I thought you were talking about the color of the fire. Now, I understand. Bai Sei muttered in his mind, then stabbed the necks of the people in front of Yi Zichen with his sword. You're talking about the color of blood. Die. Bai Sei, who was engulfed in white flames, held his sword with both hands and slashed at the natives' necks like a wild beast, pushing them several meters away. White flames. Yi Zichen muttered to himself, then looked towards Meng Luo and Qingyu. Meng Luo, Qingyu, take care of Hua Jianro. Flame Rat, I'll leave them to you. Great deity, then you. Flame Rat pursed his lips. Yi Zichen grinned. I can't let Bai Sei fight alone. Thump, red flames burned. Mu Yi, who was fighting Qing Hui on the roof, couldn't help but frown. White flames. Could it be that she is the person that Lord Fire mentioned before, but never found out about? Slaughter. It was an endless slaughter. Yi Zichen had nearly forgotten how long it had been since he fought to his heart's content. Last time, I think it was when I fought Yale. Or rather, I had to push it forward. When I fought against the demons. From the looks of it, I'm also someone whose hands are stained with blood. Another head flew into the air. Yi Zichen strode forward and chopped down with his sword. His consciousness also started to blur. Damn it. Why did the game have to be updated? Wouldn't it be better to at least leave behind some health potions to recover some health? Yi Zichen looked around. Where did Bai Sei, who fought alongside me, go? She had already fallen to the ground. Where were the Flame Rat and the others? Were they surrounded by the natives? Why wasn't Han Qing here yet? Didn't he say that he would be here soon? He was too confident. It felt like I should have chosen to log off. Was it my mistake that caused the Flame Rat to make the wrong decision, causing all of us to die here? So tiring. He swung his sword, but it seemed like he missed. The natives in front of him dodged his attack, then chopped down on his body. He was a bit numb. He couldn't feel any pain. Bai Sei, who was lying on the ground, was still swinging her sword. What happened to her? Why didn't she stand up? Her calf was gone. Darkness in front of him? No, it was light. Golden light. Did people see golden light before they died? Wasn't it supposed to be black? I seem to have experienced this sort of near-death situation a few times before. I can't really remember what I saw back then. Use me. Use me. Emperor Star, let me out. Emperor Star, what are you doing? Why won't you let us out? Emperor Star. Emperor Star. The childish cries lingered in his mind. These guys' voices are so familiar. Are they elemental spirits? Yi Zichen subconsciously looked down at his arms. They're all very anxious. Do they want to come out? But the light I saw just now wasn't them. Yi Zichen slashed randomly, while Meng Luo gripped her weapon and fought back. Qingyu also suppressed her fear and fought back. Kill him! A sudden shout sounded out. Yi Zichen felt like he had been stabbed by many swords and slashed many times. His body was riddled with holes. He fell to the ground. Future God! It sounded like the Flame Rat's shout, but also Meng Luo's scream. That wasn't important. Yi Zichen just wanted to know what that golden light was. Was it holy light leading to the heavens? Su Yan, Yume, Kiki, Jiaiyun, the great sage Yang Jian, Yin Shang, they're still waiting for me, right? They're all waiting for me. Why can't I stand up? Why? Am I going to die? Chapter 22-25. In the vast universe. In this void of the universe, a spaceship was shuttling through the universe. Inside the spaceship, a black-robed youth sat silently in a chair. Looking at the vast scenery passing by outside, he felt a chill run down his spine. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. What's going on? The youth frowned, his eyes flashing with seriousness. It can't be easy, right? This bad feeling. How long until we reach Yeezy's planet? The youth asked urgently. We'll reach Blue River in 4 days, 17 hours, 26 minutes, and 43 seconds, replied the mechanical voice. Yeezy, wait for me, the youth clenched his fist and muttered. Who are you people? Han Qing's expression was steely as he looked at the 4 people blocking his way. He was very surprised. The 4 people in front of him were all star-level experts, only stronger than him. Since when did the village suddenly have so many experts? He only recognized a few star-level experts. He knew all of them. However, the people in front of him felt very unfamiliar to him. You don't need to know who we are. We've been ordered to stay here to stop you. Please don't make things difficult for us. So long as you stay here, we'll all be fine." The four looked exactly the same, as if they'd been carved from the same mold. The person standing in front of Han Qing spoke. Han Qing frowned and looked to his left and right. Breaking through was very difficult. He'd sent a message to the future, but there was no response. "Who the hell are you?" Within the Qing family manor. The battle was almost over. All the clansmen of the Qing clan had died in battle, including those few elders. Although they'd opposed Qing Hui's decision, they still stood by the family's side in the face of their clan's survival. "Senior Qing Hui, it seems you've lost miserably." Mu Yi narrowed his eyes, no longer fighting Qing Hui. His gaze was filled with ridicule. "Actually, your strength is very average. Our master has many star-level experts under his command. I just didn't send them here. Otherwise, how long do you think your clan could hold out? Look. These pitiful little fellows, aren't they going to die in the end?" Yi Zichen lay in a pool of blood, his body covered in swords and blades. Bai Sei had also fallen unconscious. Hua Jianrou still did not wake up. The Flame Rat and Meng Luo were captured, and Qingyu was also captured by the native. "Take a look at your people. If you had listened to us from the beginning, we wouldn't have made such a big fuss over you. Now that your clan has been exterminated, has your wish been fulfilled?" Mu Yi's words were harsh. Qing Hui held her sword and looked around silently. Was he really wrong? "Let go of my daughter, and I'll agree to your request." Qing Hui let out a long sigh. "Senior Qing Hui, don't you think your words are very childish?" Mu shrugged. "We negotiated with you before because you had the qualifications and bargaining chips to negotiate with us. Now that you don't even have any bargaining chips, what right do you have to negotiate with me?" "And me?" Qing Hui shouted angrily. "Aren't you afraid that I'll make trouble for you forever?" "Ha ha ha ha, Senior Qing Hui, did you not hear me clearly?" Mu Yi suddenly laughed out loud. "I already said, your strength is really nothing. We have many star ranks here. Let me put it this way. Do you know why Han Qing didn't come?" Mu Yi narrowed his eyes, gently wiping the blade of his sword. "Han Qing was going to come. Unfortunately, he was trapped by our people. There are 4 star ranks. I don't think he can do anything." The blade in Qing Hui's hand fell from his hand. Qing Hui's eyes were filled with emptiness and helplessness. He sat on the ground as if he had given up. His hair was messy. He looked up at the sky above his head. Mu Yi shrugged lightly. The people below had already started cleaning up the battlefield. "You're welcome to take revenge." He turned around. At this moment, a dagger appeared in Qing Hui's sleeve, and he stabbed at Mu Yi with the unsheathed sharp blade. Ding! The dagger stabbed into Mu Yi's back. But it couldn't stab in at all. "Senior Qing Hui, do you think I'm an idiot?" Mu Yi grinned, looking at Qing Hui, whose eyes were filled with shock and anger. "You used the same trick to trick me once. Do you think I'll fall for it again? I have the Vulcan soft armor bestowed by Lord Fire. You can't hurt me at all." "I don't believe." Mu Yi snatched the dagger and stabbed it into his chest several times. "It's useless. I'm going to kill you." The scholarly Qing Hui had a ferocious look in his eyes. He opened his mouth and was about to bite Mu Yi's neck. The moment he opened his mouth, the dagger Mu Yi snatched from Qing Hui pierced through his chest. The blood on his chest soaked Qing Hui's clothes. "How can you bite me? Humans are called humans because they have intelligence. You opened your mouth and bit me. Isn't that a regression of personality?" He gently pushed Qing Hui away. Qingyu, who was standing below, froze. She stared at the dagger in Qing Hui's chest, the blood on his chest, and the scene of him falling slowly. "Father!" "Little Princess Qingyu, don't shout. Your father has already gone to find your mother." Mu Yi jumped to Qingyu's side. "Come with me. Lord Fire has been waiting for you for a long time." "TSK, what a beautiful girl. If Lord Fire didn't want you, I would want you too. He touched Qingyu's face with his palm. Don't touch me! Qingyu shouted. Don't touch Qingyu! The flame rat roared with red eyes. Who do you think you are? Muyi kicked the flame rat. Meng Luo looked at the rat with worry. You're just a piece of trash. Your friends are fighting a bloody battle in front of you, but you're holding a sword with a trembling hand. My people surrounded you, but you didn't even dare to kill a single person. To think that your friends are such a pity. I'm going to ask my father to kill you. The flame rat's eyes were red. Why? From what you said, it seems like your father is very powerful on your side. Muyi grabbed the flame rat's chin. Unfortunately, this isn't your home. How old are you? You're still talking about your father every day. It seems like you're also a child who hasn't grown up. The flame rat gritted its teeth. Muyi's eyes were full of mockery. Don't be afraid. When Lord Fire sees you, if you're useless, I'll give you a quick death. Muyi said to his men. Capture them all. Especially that woman and that man. They're the people Lord Fire wants to see. Understood. The natives ran over to Yi Zichen and Bai Sei and slowly grabbed them. At that very moment, Yi Zichen, who had been lying on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the natives with a golden light. Take it away. Yours. Dirty hands. Chapter 22-26. The golden light was blinding. The instant the native grabbed Yi Zichen's arm, they had already confirmed that Ben had no consciousness. Just as he was on the verge of death, his eyes suddenly shone with a blinding light. The blinding golden light seemed to have crawled out of the abyss. The native was instantly filled with terror, causing him to fall to the ground as he screamed. The guy in front of him was a demon who killed without batting an eyelid. This time, he had attacked the Qin clan. At least several tens of people had died in Yi Zichen's hands. What now? Mu Yi frowned as he looked at his subordinate, who had fallen to the ground. The native pointed at Yi Zichen. Mu Yi looked over with a frown. Yi Zichen remained in the same position, and looked outside with his head tilted. His eyes were golden. Yi Zichen couldn't sense any consciousness from him. It was more like the final radiance of a setting sun before death. You're about to die and you're still acting fierce? Mu Yi squatted on the ground. The terrified subordinate shouted. My lord, be careful, this guy. What's wrong with him? Mu Yi shook his head in disdain, then grabbed Yi Zichen's blood-soaked clothes and tossed him in front of his subordinate. Watch carefully. Yi Zichen didn't resist at all. When he landed, Mu Yi's subordinate subconsciously took a step back. Mu Yi, who saw all of this, sighed softly. He's too weak. How could someone like this help Lord Fire expand his territory? Even someone on the verge of death could scare them like this. He took out a handkerchief, wiped the blood off his hands, then threw it to the ground. Let's go! Wait a minute. At this moment, Qingyu shouted at Mu Yi. Can you let them go? Qingyu, the flame rat turned around. The person you want to capture is me, right? I'll go with you as long as you let them go, said Qingyu. Is this a tradition of the Qin clan? Mu Yi tilted his head. Little girl, what right do you think you have to negotiate with me? Do you have any bargaining chips? Me. Qingyu stretched out her hand and pointed at herself. Her eyes were filled with determination as she looked at Mu Yi, then a dagger appeared in her hand. Let them go, I'll go with you. If you agree, then you'll bring back a corpse. The dagger was placed across its neck, and the flame rat's eyes were filled with fear. No. Qingyu, believe me, I can, somehow. The flame rat didn't say anything else. He can what? Could he bring Qingyu out of here? Because of his wrong decision, Sister Ro, Sister Bai, and the future Almighty were all in danger. But he did nothing. He was the son of an overlord. In reality, no matter what problems he encountered, there would always be elders in the clan who would stand up for him. Even if there were people of the same age who bullied him. Standing in front of him were Big Sis Ro, Big Sis Bai Yu, and the younger Meng Luo. He had always been standing behind them. He is timid. He is weak. Just like what Mu-Yi had said. His hand that was holding his weapon had been trembling. Even when he was surrounded, he did not kill a single person. He was too weak. The flame rat clenched its teeth and shut its mouth, lowering its head in silence. Sorry. No one knew who he was talking to. Perhaps he was telling Qingyu that his cowardice had disappointed Qingyu. Or perhaps he was telling Yi Zichen, Hua Jianrou, and by that it was his wrong decision that caused them to be in danger. His cowardice caused him to not fight alongside them. He clenched his fists as tears rolled down his cheeks. Mu-Yi rubbed his chin. He stared at Qingyu. Qingyu, who was holding a dagger, stared back at him without backing down. Lord Fire was telling them to capture Qingyu. As for her life or death, there was no special mention of it. He didn't know what exactly Lord Fire wanted Qingyu to do. If it was because of her looks, in that case they had to capture him alive. The two fire users were also people that Lord Fire often mentioned. They were not from this world. If he let them go now, he might not have another chance like this in the future. Qingyu, why are you doing this for them? Do you know why your clan was exterminated? It was mainly because of them. Are you sure you want to let them go? I'm sure, Qingyu replied without any hesitation. Let them go. I'll go with you. Her decisive reply caused Mu-Yi to frown even more. If she was hesitant, he might have been able to convince her, but her determination, fine, I can let the three of them go. Mu-Yi indicated towards the flame rat, Meng Luo and Hua Jianrou. Don't bargain with me anymore. It's already worth it for you to trade them for 3. I want the 5 of them, Qingyu frowned. Impossible, Mu-Yi shook his head. You can only trade for the 3 of them. If you insist on not agreeing, then you won't be able to trade for any of them. If you want to die, then die. Since Lord Fire didn't say that you have to be captured alive. As soon as he finished speaking, there was no longer any emotion in Mu-Yi's eyes. Qingyu pursed her lips and hesitated for a long time. All right. Hearing this, Mu-Yi nodded to his subordinate. Qingyu released the flame rat and the others, then continued to hold the dagger against her neck. She had to ensure their safety. If she put down the dagger, then she might not be a threat anymore. Her thoughts were very clear, and that was indeed the case. Mu-Yi was already prepared to restrain Qingyu if she put down the dagger, then the flame rat and the others wouldn't be able to escape. But from the looks of it, this girl was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Hurry up and go back, said Qingyu. The flame rat frowned and clenched his fist. Meng Luo didn't hesitate at all. The moment Mu-Yi's subordinates released her, she immediately logged off. She knew very well what she had to do. There was no point in wasting time here. If she logged off and went to find her father and the others, then the Great God and Big Sister Baiyu might still be saved. And Big Sister Ro, she was about to lose consciousness. Even if they let her go, she wouldn't be able to log off and return to reality. Meng Luo left without any hesitation. Mu-Yi's expression turned even more serious when he saw the invaders leave. He was even more determined to not let Bai Sei and Yi Zichen go. I definitely can't let them go. The invaders were different from the natives. They seemed to have gone to another world. If they had been hiding there, they really couldn't do anything to them. Hurry up and leave. Qingyu bit her lips, while the flame rat clenched his fists and stared at Hua Jianrou. She still hadn't regained consciousness. Even if they left, Big Sister Ro still couldn't log off. Meng Luo might have already gone back to get reinforcements. I'm staying. I need to take care of Big Sister Ro. I can't leave. Chapter 22-27. Virtual World Corporation Virtual Headquarters. Receiving the notice, Nine-Faced Overlord hurried over. When she arrived, there were already a few people in the VIP room. Why are you all here suddenly? She could tell that Nine-Faced Overlord knew these few. There wasn't any special courtesy at the start, as though she was surprised that an old friend would suddenly visit. Nine-Faced, we want to see Wen Li. See me for what? At this moment, A beautiful silhouette appeared in the VIP room. Lord Ninetails. The few in the VIP room all bowed, Wunli nodded lightly. How do you all have time to come to the virtual universe? Aren't you all already guarding the outer region? Are you taking turns, or do you think your lives are too long and you want to die? Wunli frowned. The few in front all had awkward expressions. Wunli also followed and spoke. Long story short, I have something very important to deal with. You all risked your lives to come to the virtual universe. I think it must be something very important too. We want to ask Lord Ninetails to save the younger generation of our race from the second universe. Second universe? Wunli frowned. Why do you need to find me for such a small matter? Only you. The person in the room spoke. My daughter is now on the verge of death in the second universe. She has no consciousness, her body in reality is also on its last breath. I understand. Speak, what are the names of your children in the second universe? Bye-bye. Hua Jianro. Alright, I will get the technology department to forcefully cut off their consciousness in the virtual world. However, I have to tell you beforehand, forcefully cutting it off may affect their brains. Wunli spoke. They won't become idiots, but they will lose some memories. Can you all accept that? Yes, of course. Just this once, next time don't come looking for me for such matters. Wunli frowned. This will affect the balance. If it wasn't for your good relationship with He, you should be clear that I wouldn't care about you. Also, you have to think for yourselves, is the outer region battlefield a place that allows you to come to the virtual universe? Lord Ninetails is right. The few in the room nodded. Since there are no problems, leave quickly, your children will be saved in half an hour. Lord Ninetails, we still want to ask you to save someone. Who? My daughter said he's a future god. Yes. My son also sent me a message on the virtual network saying that there is such a person in the future. Future? Wunli, who was in the VIP room, suddenly smiled. Your children had contact with him? If that's the case, then you can rest assured. Your children will be fine. What do you mean? The few people in the room were puzzled. Could it be that you know this future, Lord Ninetails? Alright, you guys go back quickly. Wunli didn't respond to their conversation. Also, the way you train the younger generation is too conservative. Young people need to experience life and death situations. Think about it. Standing in this position, isn't it common for us to encounter desperate situations? If we blindly protect them, it will be very difficult for them to grow. Lord Ninetails is right. The second universe can make them give up all the halos they have, which is a good thing for them. It's best that you don't interfere in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, Wunli abruptly left the VIP lounge, and the nine-faced overlord walked up to her. Seriously, why did you contact Big Sis for such a small matter? Why didn't you just come to me? Hurry up and leave, I don't want to hear any bad news. Then about my daughter. If Big Sis says she's fine, then she's definitely fine. Big Sis is right. Why are you interfering so much with your children's futures? I saw your daughter by you last time. I think she's already at the universe level, right? I heard she hasn't even seen blood before? The nine-faced overlord twitched his mouth. White Knight, there's really something wrong with your way of education. Perhaps, the man shook his head with a sigh. Let's return to reality. When the Battle of Geniuses returns, all of you should be participating, right? Let's make an appointment then. Golden light. Within the chaos, Yi Zichen slowly opened his eyes. In front of him was a golden ocean. He reached out and touched it. The golden ocean really did ripple like water. What's going on? Yi Zichen couldn't help but scratch his head as he stood on the golden ocean. Shouldn't he be at the Qing family right now? What the hell is this place? F***CK. Suddenly Yi Zichen was shocked. Earlier, he hadn't been able to move at all. He couldn't have been hacked to death, could he? F***CK. That's not right. For some reason, he felt like he was still in his own consciousness. It didn't seem like he was already dead. This golden color gave him a familiar feeling. This, a godhead? Yizichin couldn't help but mutter to himself. The golden ocean's surface trembled violently. Instantly, a golden longsword shot out of the water in front of Yizichin. The longsword hovered above the ocean. Yizichin's pupils constricted as he gazed at the divine sword. He reached out. It was as if the longsword had been summoned. With a long cry, it landed in Yizichin's hand. "Is that you?" When the longsword entered his hand, Yizichin inexplicably recalled the words he'd muttered to himself before he lost consciousness. "Use me. Use me." At the time, he'd thought it was the elemental spirit who'd said it, because it really had been the elemental spirit who'd shouted at him. "Emperor Star, you finally remember me." He suddenly heard a low murmur in his ear. Yizichin looked at the longsword in his hand. The words seemed to have come from its mouth. "I've been waiting for you for a long time. When you were in danger, the first thing you thought of was the elemental spirit. Even I wanted to give up. So it really was you." Yizichin stared at the golden longsword in his hand. "So you didn't call out to me afterwards?" "That's right. You really are a tsundere," Yizichin shrugged. "What's wrong? Before you obtained the elemental spirits, it was always me fighting alongside you. But ever since you obtained them, you've been using me less and less." The golden longsword's murmur reverberated through Yizichin's mind. "Sorry." That was the truth. After obtaining the elemental spirits, Yizichin used his godhead less and less. Whether it was back in the god realm or in the universe, he was doing his best to nurture the elemental spirit. But he'd practically forgotten the godhead he'd once condensed. After all, the godhead was something he'd condensed himself. It was his heart's desire, which was why it was born. "It's fine." The golden longsword swayed. "Fortunately, you entered my world at the last moment. That means you still value me." Chapter 22-28. The godhead seemed to be rather pleased. Before Yizichin died, he entered the land of godheads that belonged to him. Actually, it felt a bit strange. Yizichin's consciousness was clearly about to dissipate. Yet, right before it dissipated, his life seemed to be replenished and extended. It was this extension that allowed Yizichin's consciousness to enter this place. Of course. Yizichin held the golden longsword in the air and stared at it. "Don't think too much about it. I haven't used you because I've been in the second universe ever since I arrived." "I know." The golden longsword shook as if it was nodding. "You can't summon me as you please, but it's actually the seal in your heart." "The seal in my heart?" Yizichin frowned. "Whether it's the godhead or the elemental spirits, they all belong to you. Since they belong to you, then they naturally have to obey your orders." The golden longsword shook. The golden longsword swayed. "They can appear in the second universe because of your desire and trust in them. I didn't appear because your desire for me was slightly lower than theirs." Yizichin froze for some reason as he recalled the godhead's words. It really does seem like it. After arriving in the universe, he'd heard far too many good things about the elemental spirit. Sovereigns and overlords all had a high desire for elemental spirit. They could be nurtured with care. Even if they couldn't become supreme existences like the Milky Way Lord, they should at least be able to protect the Milky Way. Resources began to shift towards the elemental spirit. Or rather, all of Yizichin's resources had been spent on them. The godhead. He'd once condensed the symbol of his desire. Yet, he'd left it in a corner. It was the same in the second universe. On the hero's path, when he faced the Treant guards, the first thing he thought of was to burn them with fire. He did not condense his divinity and increase his attack power to slash the Treant guards. Then, he came into contact with the elemental lands. He used the elemental spirits more and more frequently. "Sorry. That's not the apology I want," the golden longsword smiled. "I want to know your heart. Do you still want to use me in the future?" "Of course I will." "Then hold me." The golden longsword landed in front of Yizichin. Yi Zichen reached out and grabbed it. Let us resume our massacre and let them feel the power of the sword. In a castle on Blue River Star. In the hall of the castle, several people were gathered in front of a young man, their eyes filled with worry. The young man was Yi Zichen. Not long ago, Bai-yin felt that something was wrong with Yi Zichen. He immediately called Bar out of the game. Then, Bar noticed that Yi Zichen's consciousness was on the verge of disappearing. If he was right, Yi Zichen must have been heavily injured in the second world. Faced with this situation, they made many attempts. None of them could rouse Yi Zichen. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. Her ruddy face turned pale. His expression also started to become dispirited. The people in the castle began to panic, but no one knew how to deal with this situation. If it was in the modern world, Baal could hire the best doctors to treat him. Now, but there was nothing he could do. While everyone was at a loss, Bar took out a jade bottle from his pocket. When the jade bottle appeared, the old man who had stayed by Bar's side to protect him immediately stopped him. "Back off!" Bar shouted angrily. "Young master, this pill was left for you by the old master. I'll just ask my dad for it. My friend is about to die." Bar clenched his teeth and pushed the old man away. "Move!" The old man frowned. "Ask the old master for it? How is that possible? The entire Steel family only received 4 pills from the Pill Alliance. Young Master Bar and Young Master Bar each received 1. The other 2 were given to the 2 clan elders who contributed the most to the Steel family. Even the old master didn't get any. After a long glare, the old man retreated. As an attendant, all he could do was obey. He slowly placed the pill in Yi Zichen's mouth. "Young Master Bar, how is it?" "Don't worry," Bar smiled at Bai-yin. Bar smiled and looked at Bai-yin. "With this pill, Yi will definitely recover a little. I'm sorry, but this is all I can do for him. As for whether he can survive or not, it's up to him." Bar silently sat beside Yi Zichen and stared at him as he bit his finger. He had obtained this pill when he left his clan. He told Yi Zichen to take it when he was in danger, and someone from the family would save him. He didn't know what effects the pill had. However, he was hoping that the pill could create a miracle. Yi Zichen was his good bro. He couldn't just watch Yi Zichen die. AI. The old man couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He actually understood Bar's actions. Bar had been alone for far too long. He was just a bit of a loner. Because of Bart's constant pressure, he had to pretend to be a good-for-nothing in the family and fool around outside, fooling around with some second-generation heirs. It seemed like he made a lot of friends. However, he was very lonely in his heart, because no one could truly walk into his heart. Until he met Yi Zichen. The old man didn't know what Yi Zichen said to Bar, nor did he know what happened between them. Bar had opened his heart to Yi Zichen. Not to mention this pill, if Bar inherited the Steel family, he might be able to give half of it to Yi Zichen. Bar stared at Yi Zichen solemnly. He couldn't help but pray that Yi Zichen would be fine. All of a sudden, a shocking change occurred. A blinding golden light was emitted from Yi Zichen's body. Then, he, who was sitting on the sofa, became as sharp as a sword. At the center of his eyebrows, a golden longsword slowly appeared and hovered above his head. Is this a martial soul?" Bar gulped and looked at the old man behind him. The old man's eyes also revealed shock as he stared at the longsword above Yi Zichen's head. Martial soul. It was indeed a martial soul. A martial soul that could only be condensed by the universe level actually appeared on a star level. This martial soul, and it seemed to be of a very high level. The old man was a martial artist as well. He had also condensed a martial soul. For some reason, when the longsword appeared, the martial soul in his body seemed to be suppressed, and even became restless in fear. "Young master, you really made a good friend," the old man couldn't help but mutter. Bar, who was focused on seeing Yi Zichen, didn't hear the old man's words clearly. "What did you say?" Nothing. The old man shook his head and stared at the golden longsword above Yizichen's head. You, who exactly are you? Chapter 22-29. Domain level. He possessed the power of the elements. Star level. He condensed the power of his martial soul. In the vast universe, there were plenty of people who could dual cultivate both the elements and martial souls. But someone who could do dual cultivation at the domain and star level was extremely powerful. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and Chelan horns. Even with the elder's vast knowledge, he'd never heard of such a person. Young Master Bear had such a friend. If there really was a fight for the position of clan head in the future, this person would definitely be the young master's greatest help. What the hell am I thinking? Suddenly, the elder wanted to slap himself in his heart. Just now, he'd actually thought about fighting for the position of clan head. The current clan head was in the prime of his life. If nothing unexpected happened, he'd have no problem leading the Steel family for millions or even tens of millions of years. Given the clan head's shrewdness, even if he really did abdicate, he'd make sure everything was in place. That sort of thing was impossible. Although the two young masters seemed like fire and water, the eldest young master had always cared for the youngest young master. There was no way such a fight would happen between the two brothers. But if he really was getting old, he was actually thinking about such things. The elder smiled wryly and shook his head. He looked at the godhead above Yizichen's head in silence. Let's go, Miss Qingyu. Mu-Yi smiled and quietly waited for Qingyu to leave with them. I've already confirmed with you many times. We won't capture the three of them again. Since I promised you, I naturally won't go back on my word. I still value honesty. He was rather anxious. The Qing family had a lot of prestige in the village. If news of their extermination got out, it wouldn't be a good thing for Mu-Yi. There were no other villagers living around the Qing family. Right now, the situation outside was still within his control. But if the other villagers found out, it would be very troublesome to explain. As for the flame rat and the others, so what if he told them to leave? As long as he could take the two fire users away, Mu-Yi believed that the Flame Lord would be very satisfied. Miss Qingyu? Mu-Yi squinted his eyes. Qingyu took a deep breath and tightened her grip on her dagger. At that moment, the entrance to the residence suddenly lit up. Mu-Yi instantly frowned. In order for Qingyu to follow him without worry, he had already ordered his subordinates to take Yizichen and Bai Sei away in advance. At that moment, he was the only one left with Qingyu. This kind of loud noise gave him a bad premonition. Before he could think further, fierce fighting sounds came from the front of the house. In less than half a minute, several of Mu-Yi's men flew out from the front. Soon after, they saw a young man bathed in blood. He was carrying a veiled woman in his arms and holding a long sword in his hand. There was also a golden longsword hanging above his head. Hey! The young man grinned and waved his hand, erasing the natives around him. He flung the blood off the sword onto the ground. You! Mu-Yi frowned deeply, and his eyes were filled with anger as he looked at the other party. It was none other than Yizichen. He was clearly on the verge of death, but not only did he not die, his strength seemed to have improved a lot. Kill him! Mu roared angrily, causing his subordinates to all charge towards Yizichen. Yizichen sneered and gripped his sword. He swung his sword down. Some of the natives were decapitated. Blood splattered on his face. Yizichen subconsciously wiped it with his hand. When he saw the blood on his finger, he couldn't help but smile. It really had been too long since he'd felt like this. If it wasn't for the second universe, if it wasn't for Mu-Yi, Yizichen might have forgotten how he'd gotten to this point. Let's resume the slaughter. In an instant, Yizichen's godhead entered the longsword. A berserk aura was released from his body. Boom! Boom! Strike after strike. In an instant, the corpses in front of Yizichen seemed to pile up into a small mountain. He stepped on the corpses of the natives. He slowly walked towards Mu-Yi. Stop him! With that, Mu Yi grabbed Qingyu's arm. He had to bring Qingyu back. Otherwise, Lord Fire definitely wouldn't let him off so easily after suffering so many casualties and not even a single grain. Let's go. Mu Yi grabbed Qingyu's arm. He did this because he had a feeling. He was no match for Yi Zichen. Or rather, he was no match for the sword in Yi Zichen's hand. He had to take advantage of the time his subordinates blocked Yi Zichen to capture Qingyu and leave. Hurry up and leave with me. Mu Yi roared and dragged Qingyu, who didn't want to leave. Whoosh! At that moment, a beam of sword energy suddenly shot over from afar. It landed on Mu Yi's arm and chopped it off. Let go of your filthy hand. Kill him. Mu Yi's eyes were bloodshot as he clutched his injured arm. His subordinates charged forward fearlessly. Yi Zichen looked at them indifferently, then swung his sword mercilessly. F***ck. Mu Yi didn't hesitate at all. Grabbing the severed arm on the ground, he rushed to the wall of the Qing family's mansion and jumped over it without thinking. Quite decisive. After killing the surrounding people, Yi Zichen squinted his eyes at the others in the manor. Your boss left. Aren't you guys going to run? Kill him. Mu Yi's subordinates continued to charge forward without any regard for their lives. Have they been cursed? Yi Zichen shook his head with a sigh. Without any hesitation, he sent all his sword energy into their bodies. In less than 3 minutes, not a single living native could be seen in the Qing family manor. At the same time, an elderly figure flashed across the sky. When he saw the situation in the manor, my lord. You really came quickly, Han Qing. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. Han Qing looked at the blood on Yi Zichen's body silently, then at Bai, who was in his arms, then at the slaughtered natives on the ground. The corpses in the manor, there were at least 1,000 of them. My lord, this subordinate was ambushed on the way here. This subordinate only managed to get out after much difficulty, said Han Qing. Oh, I got it, Yi Zichen nodded. It was most likely Mu Yi's doing. He knew that Yi Zichen would find Han Qing, so he sent people to stop Han Qing. With that, Yi Zichen turned around and walked towards the flame rat. Where's Mengluo? She logged off to find help. The flame rat gulped, then looked at Yi Zichen with a hint of fear. He'd just witnessed with his own eyes how Yi Zichen was like an Azura. Without so much as batting an eye, he'd slaughtered everyone present. Let's not wait for her anymore. Let's go, Yi Zichen said to the flame rat. Go to my equipment store, Han Qing. Yes, my lord. Go and contact the best doctor. Chapter 2230. Han Qing hurriedly left. He'd only worked for Yi Zichen earlier because of Yu Baifeng. Then he saw the Qing clan's situation. Then he saw Yi Zichen's blood and the sword in his hand. He finally realized that the lord he was loyal to was also not an ordinary person. Han Qing, go find a doctor to treat Bai Sei and Hua Jianrou's wounds before they can regain consciousness. Yi Zichen instinctively tried to put the sword back on his back, but as he did so, the entire sword shattered from the hilt. Dark gold grade. It's very expensive, Yi Zichen smiled wryly. It was most likely because the sword couldn't withstand the power of a godhead. Yi Zichen was rather surprised. After all, the common grade represented the domain grade, and the domain grade represented the transcendent grade. A weapon of that level couldn't withstand the power of his godhead. This hadn't happened even when he'd used the Xianyuan sword. Could it be that the Xianyuan sword was of an even higher grade than a domain-level weapon? Or, the power of a godhead had grown. Let's go, said Yi Zichen. The flame rat nodded, then hugged Hua Jianrou. Qingyu, come with me. My dad, he. Qingyu bit her lips. Hearing that, Yi Zichen leaped onto the roof, walked in front of Qing Hui, touched his neck, then carried him over his shoulder. Let's go. Is my dad still alive? Qingyu looked worried. He's still breathing. Don't worry, he's probably in a similar state as Bai Sei and the others. They're all in a state of suspended animation, Yi Zichen smiled, then patted Qingyu's head. Let's go. Let's leave this troublesome place. Okay. In an instant, Qingyu could no longer hold back her tears as they streamed down her face. She bit her lips and followed Yi Zichen. At some point, many villagers had already gathered outside. They stood in the distance and watched the blood flow out of the Qing family's manor. When they saw Yi Zichen, they all instinctively took a step back. Move. When the villagers heard this, they quickly made way for him. When they smelled the stench of blood on Yi Zichen's body, many couldn't help but cover their noses. Until they left. Some of the villagers who were gathered outside the house were brave enough to lean against the door and peek inside. They instantly sat on the ground. Many villagers gathered around the door. The eyes of the person sitting in front of the door were filled with fear. Qing, the Qing clan has been exterminated. No matter what happened to the Qing family, Yi Zichen's equipment shop's business was still booming. Due to the distance between the two sides, the situation there did not affect them. Moreover, under Mu Yi's control, not many people knew about this until now. Get out of the way. Yi Zichen kicked away the customer blocking the door. Just as the customer who was kicked was about to curse angrily, he subconsciously shut his mouth when he saw Yi Zichen, who was covered in blood. The thick stench of blood lingered in the equipment shop. Many customers couldn't help but frown. When they turned around, no one dared to say a word. My lord. Chikano was the first to rush out. Prepare a room for me. There's always an empty room upstairs, Chikano quickly replied. As he hurried upstairs, the customers below couldn't help but whisper to each other. That was a future god, right? What happened to them? Who could injure them like this? Sorry, everyone, the shop is closed today. Winnie ran out and nodded to the crowd apologetically. Then, the customers left the shop. Winnie quickly closed the door after all the customers had left. My lord. Chikano stood on the side. Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh, then sat on the chair in a daze. After a long while, only then did he return to his senses. It's closed, right? Yes, the shop is already closed, Chikano nodded. Tell the people in the shop to investigate properly. If there are any natives approaching the shop, inform me immediately, Yi Zichen said. Understood. Oh yeah, my man will come and find me later. You've met him before. Let him in. Yes. With that, Yi Zichen waved towards Chikano. Chikano left the room and gently closed the door. Future god. The flame rat pursed his lips. What? Yi Zichen smiled. Brat, don't look at me like that. You owe me 1,000,000, don't forget to call me. The flame rat was stunned for a moment, then immediately understood that Yi Zichen was trying to divert his attention. I will. That's good. If you dare to owe me money, then you saw it yourself just now, I kill without batting an eye. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and stared fiercely at the flame rat for a while, then patted his shoulder. Don't worry, Bai Sei, Hua Jianro and company will be fine. It's all my fault, the flame rat clenched his teeth. You're still too young, Yi Zichen patted the flame rat's shoulder. Actually, this sort of thing is very normal. Isn't it just being heavily injured and on the verge of death? I've been living like this ever since I turned 20. I nearly died several times in between, but I'm still alive and kicking right now. Great God, you must have suffered a lot, right? The flame rat asked. More or less, Yi Zichen shrugged. Only by suffering can you become someone above others. How are you going to become someone without suffering? Today was the first time I killed someone. I only killed one person, then I don't dare to do it anymore. The flame rat lowered his head. I'm scared, I'm really, really scared. Yi Zichen patted his shoulder softly. The flame rat also lowered his head, while his shoulders trembled intensely. I hate fighting. When I was young, whenever I was bullied, it was always Rujia, Baijia and Mengluo who helped me fight back. This world will never let you live according to your wishes, Yi Zichen shrugged. Yi Zichen shrugged. I was like you in the past. I also loved peace, and fighting might have been a common occurrence, but I never killed anyone, nor did I dare to. The society I live in is ruled by law. You will go to jail if you kill someone. Then sometimes there will always be a lot of things that I have no other choice. Yizichin let out a deep breath and smiled. When you have someone you want to protect, and everything you want to protect, and all of that can only be protected by killing those enemies, would you not kill them? Just like when you protected Hua Jianro, you were afraid of killing people, but you killed that native in her most dangerous moment. Someone has to do some dirty work, don't think too much about it. You are a man as well, a man with an indomitable spirit. You can't always be protected by others, you will become someone who can take charge of things in the future. You should learn to grow up,